Out of nowhere, Mom drops a bombshell on our boy. This pretty girl is her friend's daughter, and starting today, she'll be his new upstairs roommate. Prompted by his mom to say hi, our extremely socially anxious boy starts sweating bullets. While he struggles to speak, the girl cheerfully introduces herself. He awkwardly reaches out to shake her hand. On the surface, they've officially met as roommates, but his internal panic hasn't subsided at all. Just then, the girl drops another devastating piece of news. She's transferring to his high school tomorrow. Before he can even process that, his mom rushes off, leaving him to help with the luggage. Looking at his smiling new roommate, our boy, who is utterly clueless about talking to girls, is inwardly panicking about how he's going to survive living together. But the moment they're alone, this seemingly sweet girl pulls out a cigarette and casually asks him for a lighter. This massive contrast instantly makes our boy's jaw drop. Traumatized by years of severe bullying, our boy instinctively freezes in fear. Terrified, he doesn't even have the courage to look her in the eye and anxiously averts his gaze. Seeing him cowering and unable to even form a sentence, the new roommate flashes a look of disdain. She coldly labels him a loser, a remark that completely shatters his fragile pride. Still reeling from the morning's shock, Lee Min-chai's dismissive loser echoes painfully in our boy's mind, piercing whatever pride he had left. He doesn't even get a second to breathe. Walking into class, a heavy hand grips his shoulder, followed by the cruel laughter of the school bullies. Although his inner voice screams that he's no loser, our boy can only muster a weak protest when the red-haired bully arrogantly demands a banana milk. That tiny spark of rebellion is immediately crushed. The bully violently puts him in a headlock and delivers a punishing blow, erasing any further defiance. Overpowered and in pain, our guy is forced to humiliatingly apologize for his mistake. The bully gloats, faking forgiveness while preparing his next cruel game. The forgiveness was just a trap. Choking him again, the psycho sadistically forces our boy to choose his own punishment. Terrified, he stammers out 3. The bully multiplies the number and unleashes a ruthless barrage of punches. The beating only stops when a student yells that the teacher is coming, leaving our boy trembling in tears. Before the suffocating tension fades, the teacher introduces a new transfer student. Our boy freezes in absolute shock at Lee Min-chai, the very roommate who mocked him this morning. The teacher introduces the new transfer student, and our boy instantly starts sweating. He never imagined his tough-as-nails new roommate would end up in his exact class. Hearing his name, she quickly realizes he's the timid guy from downstairs. To make things worse, the teacher assigns her the seat right behind him, making our boy incredibly anxious. While our guy is panicking, a crumpled note suddenly hits the back of his head. He opens it to find a strict warning from his roommate. Pretend they don't know each other at school. Despite the harsh warning, our kind-hearted boy can't just leave her to navigate alone. He secretly passes back a note, which turns out to be a meticulously hand-drawn map of the school campus. But peaceful school days are a luxury. During the break, the red-haired bully drags our boy into the bathroom and unloads a ruthless punch to his head, continuing his daily torment. Just when our guy braces for a severe beating, the bully unexpectedly stops and patronizingly pats his cheek. It turns out the jerk's true goal isn't violence, but forcing our boy to help him cheat on the upcoming midterms. Surrounded by mocking bullies, our boy can only endure it in silence. Just then, the red-haired bully wraps an arm around his shoulder. They didn't drag him into the bathroom, just for simple bullying. The red-haired guy smirks and gets straight to his real, unreasonable demand. Hearing that the guy wants him to help cheat on the midterms, our boy is completely stunned, breaking out in a cold sweat. It turns out the bully's mother demanded he pass the exams before sending him to study abroad. To leave the country, he's targeting our top student. If caught cheating, his own life would be ruined. Faced with this blatant coercion, our guy falls into extreme panic and struggle. However, the villain has zero patience. Seeing his hesitation, the bully lands a heavy punch right on our boy's face, knocking him to the floor instantly. Looking at him on the floor, the red-haired guy crouches down and delivers his final ultimatum in a highly dangerous tone. Will you do it or not? Terrified of a worse beating, our dizzy boy chokes back tears and humiliatingly agrees to the demand. The bully looks incredibly smug. Though he surrendered verbally, the anger deep inside him has reached its peak. His unwilling, sharp glare immediately catches the villain's attention. Inside the boy's restroom, a heavy punch echoes. The red-haired bully lands a merciless blow right to our boy's face, leaving him completely defenseless. With a bloody nose dripping continuously, our boy has no choice but to squeeze his eyes shut and apologized to his tormentor in pure fear. Satisfied with his victim's miserable state, the red-haired guy smirks. His true goal was simply to force our boy into helping him cheat on the midterms before walking away laughing. Left kneeling alone on the cold tiles, wiping his bloody nose, a spark of pure rage finally ignites within our boy. He desperately wants to learn how to fight and crush these jerks himself. Later that evening, our boy is back home wearing an apron and cooking dinner. Suddenly, his mom walks in and tells him to go upstairs and call their new roommate Min-Shai down to eat. The thought of eating dinner with a girl instantly makes our introverted boy sweat nervously. But with his mom insisting it's perfectly normal, he nervously agrees. Walking upstairs with a heavy heart, he gently knocks on her door. After a moment of silence, he thinks he hears a faint come in from the other side. Turns out it was just song lyrics playing on her phone. He opens the door completely off guard, only to find Min-Shai standing there wrapped in nothing but a towel. Both of them freeze instantly. The silence doesn't even last a second. Acting on pure defensive instinct, a flustered Min-Shai grabs a heavy electric kettle and brutally smashes it right into our boy's face. Without a chance to explain, our poor boy gets knocked flat on his back, foaming at the mouth with a bleeding nose. Who knew his very first combat experience would end in a miserable knockout in his own hallway? Our boy gets knocked out cold by a coffee machine. When he finally wakes up, he finds his new roommate in just a towel, sending the situation into pure chaos. Furious about the awkward misunderstanding, Min-Shai strictly warns our boy not to intrude again, leaving him absolutely terrified and begging for mercy. After being harshly labeled a pervert, the misunderstanding is barely cleared up. Our boy sits at the dinner table terrified, sweating profusely without daring to look up. Mom's delicious stew instantly wins Min-Shai over. Watching his new roommate and his mother happily chat, our boy can only quietly eat his food, too scared to interrupt. Min-Shai gives a huge thumbs up, making Mom incredibly happy. Taking advantage of the great mood, Mom curiously asks why she moved to Seoul all by herself. Hearing this, the usually tough Min-Shai confesses she came here to study for college. This completely unexpected reason leaves our boy stunned and sweating. It turns out her grandfather promised to give his building to whichever grandchild gets into a university in Seoul. Even Mom is impressed by this massive temptation. Fired up by the prospect of the building, Min-Shai is fully motivated to study. Little does our boy know, he's about to get dragged into becoming her personal tutor. After clearing up the misunderstanding, they enjoy a warm dinner. Min-Shai reveals she came to Seoul to study and inherit a building, which immediately gives our boy's mom an idea. Mom enthusiastically recommends her top student's son as a free tutor. Seeing Min-Shai's eyes light up with excitement, our boy instantly feels a wave of dread. Min-Shai realizes she just hit the jackpot. After dinner, while Mom is doing the dishes, she quietly whispers to our boy and tells him to come outside. They head out to the dark outdoor stairs. While our boy is still confused, Min-Shai expertly squats down on the steps and lights up a cigarette. Blowing out a cloud of smoke, Min-Shai demands that our boy tutor her, only to be flatly rejected. Getting desperate, she even promises to give him a share of the building. But our boy isn't having it. He bluntly states that he despises delinquents, turns his back on the smoking girl, and walks away without hesitation. Min-Shai is left fuming at the insult. But before our boy can get far, he suddenly overhears some menacing voices from the alley below. Looks like real trouble is brewing. Our boy is heading home, still distracted by thoughts of the pretty girls Min-Shai mentioned. He tries to shake it off, slapping his cheeks to remind himself not to get carried away by his imagination. Just as he's trying to stay focused, he glances down into a dark alley and freezes. A group of low-life thugs has Lee Min-Shai cornered, and they clearly aren't planning to let her go. The thugs start getting creepy, making lewd comments about her looks. Despite the intimidation, Min-Shai remains unfazed, arms crossed, rejecting their advances with total contempt. When a thug grabs her wrist, our boy's heart races in panic as he reaches for his phone to call the police. Strangely, instead of screaming for help, Min-Shai has a cold, sharp look in her eyes. The lead thug laughs, thinking he's caught an easy target. From his spot in the shadows, our boy is terrified, fearing that something terrible is about to happen to his roommate. Suddenly, the tables turn. In a blur of motion, Min-Shai slams the massive thug into the pavement with terrifying precision. Watching from above, our boy is absolutely stunned by the sudden display of power. Enraged, the remaining thug rushes into attack. But Min-Shai has already shifted into a professional combat stance. Seeing her poise, our boy realizes his roommate is a serious martial artist. Facing the thugs, Minchai unleashes her fighting skills. With lightning speed, she knocks out the first guy, then smoothly takes down the second. Watching from the shadows, our boy is completely speechless. Meanwhile, only the massive bald boss remains standing in the dark alley. Enraged, the bald boss roars and charges forward. Unfazed, Minchai waits for the perfect moment and leaps into the air for a finishing blow. With a heavy thud, Minchai's strike lands perfectly. The tough-acting boss instantly crashes to the ground, completely knocked out cold. In just seconds, all three thugs are wiped out. Our boy's mind is blown. He never expected his roommate to be such a fierce fighter. Still in shock, our boy accidentally reveals his position. Seeing him just standing there, Minchai scolds him for not running away or calling the cops. Stammering nervously, our boy asks what martial arts she practices. Minchai coolly replies, "MMA." But neither of them realizes that a new danger is creeping up from behind. Looking at the defeated thugs on the ground, our boy has a bold idea. Desperate to change his fate, he offers a trade. "I'll tutor you in studying, and you teach me how to fight." Hearing this wild proposal, she freezes for a second and instantly rejects him. Our guy starts panicking, sweating as he asks why she won't help. She bluntly explains that teaching martial arts requires close combat, rolling around on the ground sweating together. There's no way she wants that kind of awkward physical contact with him. Our boy complains that the school bullies train at the nearby gyms, making it a death trap for him. However, she remains completely unmoved, coldly stating it's not her problem. Tossing out a final rejection about managing her own studies, she turns and leaves. Left alone in the quiet street, our boy watches her walk away, desperately thinking of a new plan. Lying in bed drenched in sweat, our boy can't stop replaying his roommate Lee Minchai's terrifyingly brutal combat skills from last night. Tears of frustration fall, as he wonders if learning from her could finally save him from his bullies. Suddenly, his mom's voice calls out, breaking his train of thought. But his mom's next request sends chills down his spine. Deliver a sandwich to the fierce girl. Facing Minchai first thing in the morning is a truly intimidating task. After nervously knocking on her door with no response, he considers just leaving the food. But a cold come in from inside forces him to awkwardly push the door open. One peek inside, and our boy lets out a terrified scream. Minchai is just brushing her teeth, but her deceptive outfit causes a massive misunderstanding and earns him a glare. Panicking at being mistaken for a pervert, he covers his eyes and stammers out that he's just delivering breakfast. Annoyed, she coldly tells him to drop it and leave. However, as he puts down the sandwich, some books catch his eye. He thought the tough martial artist was studying something advanced, but is left completely dumbfounded to find elementary textbooks. Looking at the elementary workbooks, our boy realizes his tough roommate is actually at an elementary school level because she only focused on sports. Without hesitating, our boy bluntly exposes her secret of studying elementary textbooks. The usually fierce girl is instantly frozen in shock. Embarrassed beyond belief, she blushes fiercely and furiously shoves our boy out the door before he can say another word. Even though he got kicked out, our boy nervously offers through the door to be her personal tutor if she wants to enter a university. He explains that no cram school will accept a total beginner, but his only response is a violent door slam and an angry shout. The next day, just as our boy is about to deliver some sweet potatoes from his mom, a sudden voice stops him. The girl rushes down the stairs to intercept him. It looks like she has calmed down and is finally ready to accept his tutoring deal. Minchai is devastated after being rejected by every cram school for her terrible grades. Our boy stands by and ruthlessly points out the harsh truth about her lack of basics. Desperate, Minchai gets right in our boy's face and proposes a mutual trade. He tutors her, and she teaches him how to fight. The sudden offer leaves him completely stunned. They strike a deal, and the tutoring begins. Trying to act like a strict teacher, our boy sets up a whiteboard and officially kicks off their very first English lesson. Jae-hyuk starts with the simplest words, but Minchai hilariously misinterprets a basic pronoun as cigarettes because of a poster. Her absurd answer nearly makes our guy lose his mind. Sweating profusely, our boy realizes she doesn't even know the alphabet. He desperately starts teaching from scratch, finally understanding what an academic nightmare he just signed up for. During the combat lesson, Minchai explains that winning starts with gathering intel to find the opponent's weaknesses. This tactical approach completely changes our boy's view on fighting. To scout their target, Minchai ruthlessly uses our boy as a human step stool. When he struggles and dares to question her weight, she instantly shuts down his complaints. Hiding in the shadows, the two are secretly observing the scene below. Following Minchi's gaze, the red-haired bully Sangam swaggers in with his gang. As the thugs smoke and chat, Minchai sharply catches a key piece of intel. Sangam has a fight scheduled in the underground parking lot. Hearing this, Minchai excitedly suggests they go watch the fight. Pinned to the ground and sweating bullets, our boy clearly has no right to refuse. To stay hidden, our boy tightly wears his hood and mask. He doesn't get why they're going, but Minchai explains it's to study their enemy's fighting style. Looking at the gathering delinquents in the distance, our boy gulps, suddenly remembering that his mentor used to be quite the fierce delinquent herself. They sneak into the underground parking lot, and the scene is quite intimidating. The entire place is packed with street thugs waiting for the show. Some delinquent girls recognize Minchai and come over to chat. When they ask about our boy, Minchai casually brushes it off, while he desperately covers his face. Just as our boy is on pins and needles, a sudden commotion ripples through the crowd. It seems the real main event is finally about to begin. A commotion breaks out in the crowd as the red-haired bully, Joe Sangbom, faces off against another student. The air is thick with tension. The guy is here to seek justice for his friend's broken finger. He angrily grabs Sangbom by the shoulder, demanding a sincere apology. Sangbom pretends to back down with a smirk, but suddenly lunges forward, violently choking the guy with a ruthless look in his eyes. Without hesitating, he throws a devastating punch straight to the guy's face. The massive impact sends him flying and crashing hard onto the ground. Stepping on his fallen victim, Sangbom bursts into maniacal laughter. The crowd is stunned in fear, and our boy, hiding behind a mask, trembles at the brutal sight. But the nightmare isn't over. Completely unhinged, Sangbom starts ruthlessly kicking the defenseless guy on the ground like a soccer ball. Even though the poor guy is covered in blood and desperately begging for mercy, the deranged bully shows absolutely no intention of stopping. Mocking the broken finger, Sangbom actually grabs a fire extinguisher and brings it crashing down. Accompanied by a blood-curdling scream, this hellish scene becomes our boy's deepest fear. Under the night sky, our boy sits on the swing, covering his face in agony. Facing the upcoming fight, he's completely swallowed by despair, convinced he has no chance of winning. Seeing him so defeated, Lee Minchai loudly interrupts his overthinking, boldly declaring that 1 month of special training will be more than enough. Faced with Lee Minchai's provocation, the arrogant face of the school bully flashes through our guy's mind, leaving him still filled with self-doubt and fear. But under the silent night sky, his trembling hands finally clench into fists. Having nothing to lose anyway, he decides to bet everything and fight back. A month of hellish training passes in a flash. Yet in the classroom, the bully still hovers like a lingering nightmare, putting a heavy hand on our boy's shoulder to intimidate him. As the agreed time approaches, Lee Minchai is thrilled about her study abroad plans, but turns to find our boy trembling in the stairwell, trying to back out again. Hearing that his mind goes blank at the thought of fighting, Lee Minchai almost loses it. But she quickly calms down, confidently telling him she has a plan, and he just needs to follow her lead. The scene shifts to the exam room, where the teacher sternly warns everyone against cheating. Our boy sits at his desk, nervously filling out his answer sheet. Right in the middle of this tense exam, Lee Minchai writes quickly and secretly folds a small note. Watching the bully smiling smugly in the distance, it's clear a trap is about to be sprung. In the exam room, the red-haired bully locked his eyes on our boy. It had only been 5 minutes, but that malicious stare already had him sweating bullets. Soon after, a provocative note demanding a fight was passed over. The bully's vicious glare instantly awakened our boy's painful memories of being tormented, putting him on high alert. However, faced with such blatant intimidation, our boy didn't break down entirely. Instead, he thought of the one person who gave him the strength to fight back, his roommate Lee Minchai. 1 month ago, desperate to change his fate, our boy begged Minchai for training. Her first task for him? Carrying her all the way up a massive flight of stairs. A single complaint earned him a ruthless punch to the head. Left with no choice, our boy gritted his teeth and struggled to carry her up the steep slope. Reaching the top, he collapsed to his knees in exhaustion. He hopefully asked if this would boost his combat skills, only for Minchai to casually reply that she just used him as a human chair. The physical drain was just the beginning. At the restaurant, our boy became the designated wallet. While devouring the food, Minchai seriously lectured him that power comes from weight to justify her massive meal. Watching her unapologetic face, our boy could only eat in angry silence. Afterward, the tragic hero had to carry his full mentor back home. His bloody path of resistance has just begun. Sweating profusely, our boy thought he was just being used as a free pack mule, painfully carrying her all the way to the roof. But when he reached the top, he was completely stunned. The entire rooftop was covered in professional combat gear, specially prepared just for his training. To motivate him, she dropped a massive bait, claiming the gear was from a well-endowed friend who loves nerdy guys. Hearing that, our boy immediately lost himself in some wild daydreams. Seeing his goofy face, she snapped him back to reality and demonstrated a basic jab and high kick. The sheer power of her moves left him sweating in awe. Following up with a devastating low kick, she gave him an ultimatum: practice this basic combo relentlessly for the next 3 weeks, or get lost. Desperate to change his fate, our boy roared with determination. From that day on, the rooftop became his personal hell, as he endured a grueling training regime day and night. After countless hours of sweat, his punches finally started looking sharp. But just as she praised his progress and initiated a sparring session, she immediately humbled him with a brutal kick. It seems his real trial has just begun. On the outdoor balcony, our boy is fully focused. Under Minchi's professional guidance, he's practicing his punching combos and low kick defenses with everything he's got. Seeing our boy finally throwing decent combos, Minchi nods in approval. She then announces that today's main event is learning how to tackle an opponent to the ground. Hearing the word, our boy instantly imagines a soccer tackle. Minchi sighs and explains that it's actually a devastating takedown move designed for real combat. To give him a hands-on lesson, Minchi challenges him to tackle her. Thinking his size gives him an edge, our guy charges in, only to hit her like a brick wall and get swiftly kicked away. Seeing our boy looking weirdly thrilled after getting hit, Minchi relentlessly pummels his head. She uses physical pain to ensure he remembers the miserable consequences of a failed tackle. Knowing his upcoming bully is massive, a regular tackle won't work. With a confident smirk, Minchi suddenly rushes at him with terrifying speed to demonstrate a special tackle. Over the next 2 weeks, our boy endures absolute hellish training. From weighted planks to sprinting upstairs with Minchi on his back, his stamina is pushed to the limit. Through endless days of pad work and getting brutally sparred by Minchi, his fighting skills are evolving rapidly. But the real, hidden threat is just beginning to surface. During this hellish training, our boy gave it his all. Even after taking a heavy blow to the head, he gritted his teeth and kept counterattacking, leaving even Minchi surprised by his sheer grit. Of course, the beatings weren't for nothing. In exchange, he tutored her whenever possible. Just like that, a grueling but fulfilling month flew by. Fast forward to the day of the showdown. Sweating profusely, our boy was visibly nervous, but Minchi's pre-fight words echoed in his mind. Focus only on the fight, loser. With those words, his eyes instantly filled with resolve. A huge crowd of students had already gathered, and the red-haired bully across from him was arrogantly puffing on a cigarette. The showdown was imminent. Amidst the noisy chatter of the crowd, the red-haired bully glared menacingly at his prey, while our boy tensed up, silently hyping himself up for the clash. Flashback to the night before the fight. As they crouched on the rooftop, Minchi lit a cigarette and quietly watched our boy, who was trembling with anxiety. He admitted that just thinking about fighting the bully made him shake. Minchi coldly mocked him for being a loser, but then suddenly ordered him to take off his shirt, leaving our boy completely stunned. To check the results of his hellish training, Minchi asks our boy to flex his core. Looking at those budding muscles, all the hard work is finally paying off. The hardware is ready, but Minchi knows what our guy lacks most is confidence. She reminds him that with his new body, the only thing that can defeat him is his own fear. Hearing her still calling him a loser, our boy can't help but protest. Minchi rolls her eyes and makes a promise. If he wins this time, she'll finally call him by his real name. Before the fight, Minchi hands him a lighter as a secret weapon. She instructs our boy to grip it tight when punching to drastically increase his striking power. Looking at the cheap secondhand lighter, our guy is about to ask where it came from, but Minchi quickly shuts him down, demanding a brand new one if he wins. Back to reality, gripping the lighter tight, our boy is finally about to face his nightmare Joe's Sangbum. However, his instinctual fear still makes his body tremble uncontrollably. Just as he's about to back down, Minchi's words echo in his mind again. Deciding he has nothing to lose, our boy clenches his fist and takes a brave step forward. The hallway is already crowded with onlookers. Facing the sudden challenge, the arrogant Joe Sangbum isn't fazed at all, instead mocking our guy for losing his mind from all the stress. Although sweating profusely from anxiety, our boy chooses not to back down this time. He bravely faces the provocation head-on. The revenge battle for his dignity is finally about to begin. Faced with Joe Sangbum's mockery and a crowd filming for sport, our boy is visibly trembling. Yet, despite the fear, he stands his ground instead of running away. Recalling Minchie's warning that losing means the end, our boy takes a breath. The crowd cheers for the bully, seeing Jae-hyuk as nothing more than an easy target. Sangbum mockingly asks how many hits he wants, treating him like an insect. Although drenched in sweat, our boy keeps his eyes locked on the bully, searching for an opening. Minchie's words about momentum echo in his head: if you lose your nerve, you lose the fight. He suppresses his trembling, fighting to maintain a mask of calm. Just when everyone expects him to fold, our boy flips the script. With a sharp gaze, he asks Sangbum how many hits he wants to take, promising to return them 100-fold. Sangbum laughs off the bluff, but wastes no time, launching a heavy punch. Our boy's eyes sharpen as his mind races through every drill from his training. Flashbacks of Minchie's precise strikes and kicks flood his mind. These moves are his only lifeline, and he needs to turn practice into pure instinct right now. With a heavy thud, Sangbum's fist connects with his face. Reality sets in through the pain. Real combat is unforgiving, and one mistake could end it all. Facing the relentless assault from the red-haired bully, our boy is pushed back helplessly. The villain laughs maniacally, taunting him to crush his spirit completely. Before he can catch his breath, the bully grabs our guy's head, unleashing a storm of brutal punches. He struggles in pain, but remains completely defenseless. While the crowd coldly mocks him, our boy is left trembling violently. He curls up in pain, covering his face and begging the bully to stop. Tears of humiliation stream down his face as fear completely paralyzes him, forcing him to helplessly apologize. Seeing our boy cry, the bully pauses with a cold smirk. The villain fakes a moment of pity, only to immediately launch a vicious high kick that sends our boy flying. He laughs wildly, showing no intention of stopping. Intense pain blurs his vision as despair creeps into his heart. He tragically realizes that against such overwhelming violence, he is still completely powerless. Memories of his hellish training with his roommate flash through his mind. He had sweated so much and thrown countless punches just to change his miserable fate. But despite all that brutal training, the deep-rooted fear leaves him paralyzed, unable to even throw a punch. Is he really just going to surrender again? Flashback to the training. Lee Minchai drops a truth bomb on our boy. Mental strength is everything in a fight. If you break mentally, you lose. Our boy panics immediately, knowing his mental toughness is basically zero. Sighing at his miserable state, Minchai decides to teach him a dirty survival trick. If you're getting beaten up, grab him tight, Minchai demonstrates. Since our guy is too weak for a normal takedown, she devises a customized, completely unorthodox tactic just for him. Back to reality. Taking a brutal beating, our boy grits his teeth and desperately hugs the arrogant thug. The villain just laughs it off, totally underestimating him. But the villain's smile vanishes instantly. Our boy viciously bites down on his ear without hesitation, making the tough bully scream in absolute agony. There are no rules and a street fight survival is everything. While the thug is clutching his bleeding ear and cursing, our boy quickly slides over to his blind spot. Tears of fear might be in his eyes, but his footwork is flawless. Channeling all their endless training sessions, our boy launches a perfect 1-2 combo, smashing the bully straight to the ground. Facing the arrogant bully, our boy doesn't back down. He lands a precise straight punch right on the villain's face, instantly shocking the entire crowd with his swift counterattack. Facing the enraged villain, our boy recalls his roommate's training and flawlessly executes a rapid 1-2 combo, striking the target precisely once again. Seeing our once cowardly boy roaring and fighting back like a new person, the crowd is stunned. Even the usually domineering bully is beaten back and completely bewildered. Taking advantage of the villain's shock, our boy prepares his trump card. After all, with such a massive strength gap, ordinary attacks won't take down this giant. To overcome the size difference, his coach tailored a special crotch tackle for him. Striking the weak point while taking them down, our boy knows this excruciating pain all too well. The dual impact of a weak point strike and a hard fall instantly incapacitates the enemy. With the training fresh in his mind, can our boy deliver the final blow? In a flashback, Minchai breaks our boy's hesitation during training. You think this is a fair tournament? Against a bigger guy, forget about playing nice. Just focus on winning. She further shatters his mental blocks. Besides, the one fighting dirty isn't you. It's that red-haired jerk who uses his massive size to bully you every single day. Back to reality. While the red-haired bully is distracted by his bleeding nose, our boy strikes. He dives straight into a brutal low tackle, making the villain's face twist in pure agony. The massive impact sends the bully flying backwards. The crowd of delinquents is left completely speechless, but in the background, Minchai just watches with a knowing, confident smile. But our boy isn't stopping. He leaps onto the bully, pinning him down and delivering a merciless rain of heavy punches, making the villain pay for every bit of torment. With a desperate roar, tears stream down his face. Why did you have to torment me? I could have had a normal life. Every punch he throws is a screaming retaliation against his tragic fate. The entire crowd is paralyzed in disbelief seeing the untouchable bully get completely destroyed. However, Minchi's smile fades into a serious frown. Our boy is losing his temper, and this fight might not be over yet. Although our boy lands a desperate punch on the bully's face, the gap in strength quickly shows, leaving him brutally pinned to the ground. Wiping his bloody nose, the enraged bully catches our boy in a brutal guillotine choke, bragging that it'll knock him out in just 7 seconds. Suffocating and losing his vision, our guy frantically punches the bully's ribs while his desperate fingers close around a green lighter in his pocket. Just as he's about to pass out, our boy ignites the lighter right in the villain's face. The searing pain makes the bully scream and let go. Seizing the moment the bully panics, our guy flashes a fierce look and lands a vicious low kick, completely shattering his opponent's balance. In that split second, his roommate's hellish training echoes in his mind. No matter how big they are, a solid strike to the jaw will end it. With a sheer resolve to end the bullying once and for all, our boy unleashes a furious roar and swings a devastating hook straight at the bully's jaw. Facing the arrogant bully, our boy unleashes an explosive punch straight to his face. The counterattack is so fierce that the villain doesn't even have time to react. As the notorious bully collapses to the ground, the entire crowd falls dead silent. Panting heavily, our boy realizes he has finally earned his respect with his own fists. The students watch in sheer disbelief at the fallen bully. But in the crowd, his mentor Lee Minchai simply smiles, clearly proud of her student's hard-earned victory. Winning is great, but our boy isn't letting it get to his head. To avoid getting jumped by the bully's lackeys, he instantly bolts down the hallway. Talk about a strategic retreat. Once safely outside, he throws his arms wide and lets out a victorious cheer. The news of his epic win spreads like wildfire, and he believes his bullying days are finally over. But reality is never that kind. Hearing about the upset, a newly emerged, terrifyingly buff fighter is already plotting to make our triumphant guy his next prey. 3 days after the showdown, the completely humiliated red-haired bully returns to school hiding under a hoodie. Whispers immediately fill the hallway, making the tension palpable. Our boy sweats bullets, expecting immediate revenge. But surprisingly, the once arrogant bully just quietly takes his seat. Still, this unnatural calmness only makes things feel even more unsettling. Remembering the past, our boy had absolutely zero dignity in class. Anyone could bully him from behind or throw a paper ball right at his face. The crumpled note was a blatant order to buy bread. No matter how humiliated he felt, he had no choice but to act as their personal delivery boy. But things are different now. He might still be running errands, but it's to repay Lee Minchai for her training. Compared to being Joe Sangbom's punching bag, this feels like pure happiness. Just as our boy was enjoying his newfound peace, some fierce delinquent suddenly cornered him, demanding to know if he beat Joe Sangbom. He panicked, thinking they were here for revenge. In reality, the news of him crushing the red-haired bully had exploded across the school. Rumors were flying everywhere, and plenty of guys came looking for him to see what the hype was about. A few punks completely surrounded our boy, looking down on him and mocking that his victory must have been a total fluke. Faced with their intimidating aura, he instinctively started trembling. It wasn't just the troublemakers, even the girls crowded around, excitedly snapping pictures of him. Our boy had unexpectedly become the main attraction of the entire school. Then, a muscular guy swaggered up to him, taunting him with a look of pure disdain. Seeing his arrogant attitude, our boy nervously put up his guard. Listening to the endless whispers and staring at the unfamiliar faces, our guy was completely stunned. He just couldn't understand why the whole school suddenly knew who he was. Walking out of the store with his supplies, our boy's head was spinning. Defeating his bully might have ended one nightmare, but it seems to have dragged him into a much deeper mess. In the hallway, our boy Jaehyuk is suddenly surrounded by outcast students from other classes. Because of his victory over the school bully, these guys treat him like a real-life anime hero, excitedly showing their admiration. Facing this overly enthusiastic fan club, our boy feels a bit overwhelmed. Just then, one of the guys leans in and whispers that he overheard some troubling rumors in the bathroom. It turns out that as his fame spreads, other bullies in school want to use him as a stepping stone to establish dominance. Hearing this, our boy breaks into a cold sweat, realizing his peaceful days might be over. Cut to our boy enduring a hellish weight-bearing plank, with Minchai literally using him as a chair while she eats. Trembling under the pressure, he complains to her about the bullies who want to pick a fight. While our guy imagines a bunch of terrifying enemies, Minchai calmly explains that being challenged is just part of being a winner. He despairs, realizing that winning once doesn't guarantee a peaceful life. Physical torment isn't the only thing on the menu today. Our boy tries to use the end of exams as an excuse to skip tutoring, but Minchai violently refuses, reminding him that slacking off won't get him into top universities. Night falls, and the two finally sit down to study. But this time, our boy takes the initiative. Before the lesson begins, he demands to check Minchai's estimated exam scores, instantly making his overpowered roommate panic. Looking at the disastrous test scores, our boy is absolutely losing it. Despite all his hard work tutoring her, Minchai's results are a total train wreck, making him feel like a complete failure as a teacher. Instead of apologizing, Minchai doubles down and blames our guy's teaching for her poor grades. The two end up in a heated argument, with Minchai even trying to snatch the paper back in frustration. Suddenly, our boy's mom walks in with some fruit. Minchai instantly flips a switch, acting like the perfect, polite houseguest. Our guy is left completely stunned by her incredible acting skills and sudden change in personality. As soon as mom leaves, Minchai drops the act and puts her feet up on the desk. She even casually admits she has no idea how to peel an apple, leaving our boy speechless at the contrast in her abilities. Despite the distractions, the study session continues. Our boy patiently starts from the basics, filling the whiteboard with formulas. As the night deepens, their unique academic for combat exchange shows no signs of stopping. Late that night, Minchai drags our guy outside to keep watch while she smokes. Crouched in the dark with a sharp gaze, she looks as cool as ever, while our boy stands by feeling totally out of place. Our guy takes this chance to remind her of their deal. If he won his fight, she'd stop calling him loser and use his actual name. Naturally, Minchai plays dumb and pretends she never said anything of the sort. After a long silence, Minchai finally gives in. With a slight smirk, she actually calls him by name, well, almost. She gets it slightly wrong, but for our boy, it's still a major turning point in their relationship. Last night's training was brutal. Our boy didn't just get crushed by his demon coach, but also realized she hadn't even bothered to learn his real name. As the morning bell rings, our boy rushes to class covered in sweat, still stressing over how to keep his promise to improve her grades. He immediately freezes at the door. A massive guy has completely taken over his desk, forcing our boy to nervously step up and claim his spot. Instead of moving, the giant stands up, grabs our boy's head with a condescending smirk, and asks if beating him means defeating the red-haired bully too. Our boy frantically refuses the unreasonable challenge, but before he can even finish his sentence, the brute abruptly lands a vicious slap across his face. The giant doesn't care about reasons at all. He just wants to use our guy as a stepping stone. With a cruel sneer, he effortlessly lifts him into the air. Then, he mercilessly tosses our boy across the room like a sandbag, smashing him into the desks. Can he possibly find a way to survive this massive monster? Faced with a giant Hong Daebong, our boy is paralyzed with fear, trembling on the floor. He's absolutely convinced there's no way he can beat a monster like this. Hong Daebong smugly declares that crushing the guy who just beat Joe Sangbon will kill two birds with one stone, securing his top dog status. He walks off laughing. Left behind, our boy looks completely defeated. Onlookers wonder if his brief spark of rebellion has already been extinguished for good. The next day, the nightmare escalates. Hong Daebong literally carries our boy upside down through the hallways, parading him around like a hunting trophy. Onlookers are completely stunned seeing him treated like this. To make matters worse, Hong Daebong tries to force-feed our boy a live bug. When our boy begs him to stop, Hong Daebong delivers a brutal slap. Smoking a cigarette, the bully fiercely warns him to shut up and be a good toy. Held down by the bully's lackeys, our boy is forced to swallow the bug. The gang laughs out loud, thoroughly enjoying their sickening power trip. Broken and in tears, our boy desperately asks why he's being tortured like this. Hong Daebong just smirks and replies, "Because it's fun, you piece of trash." Right after taking down his first bully, our boy becomes the new toy for a massive thug. Being hung upside down and humiliated plunges him right back into despair. Listening to the bullies walk away in triumph, our boy collapses on the floor. He thought winning one fight would change his fate, but it only attracted an even worse tormentor. Night falls, and our guy returns home battered and bruised. He tries to focus on tutoring his roommate Min-Chai, but the day's trauma leaves him completely distracted. Sitting quietly, he falls into deep self-doubt. The suffocating memory of being lifted by the neck by that giant replays in his mind, making him feel completely powerless. With no other options, he hesitantly asks Min-Chai for advice. But he instantly gets an earful from his fiery roommate, who bluntly tells him he has zero chance of winning. Just as our boy is about to give up entirely, Min-Chai suddenly shifts her tone, revealing that there actually is a way to take down this human tank. His eyes instantly light up with hope. Desperate to prepare for the upcoming fight, our boy begs Min-Chai for more help. Reluctantly, she pulls out her phone to call her best friend for some backup. When Min-Chai casually mentions her friend is quite well endowed, our guy instantly loses his cool, letting his imagination run totally wild. But as soon as the call connects, the background noise is deafening. Turns out, this so-called reliable friend is out getting completely wasted. Sighing, Min-Chai simply asks her friend to send over a secret piece of training equipment for our boy. Then, she casually shoves the phone into his hands to say hi. Nervous and stuttering, our boy tries to introduce himself, only to be met with ruthless, drunken laughter from the other side of the line. To make matters worse, the laughing quickly turns into loud retching. Sweating and utterly grossed out, our guy realizes this conversation is a complete disaster. A few days later, a mysterious package arrives. Min-Chai claims it holds the key to his victory, but when our boy opens it, he is just left confused. Before he can even figure it out, 3 weeks of hellish training flash by. Now standing right in front of him is the massive, ruthless school bully, Hong Daebong. Facing the brutal giant, our boy actually puts on a ridiculously massive pair of red boxing gloves. The comical look instantly makes the surrounding gang burst into laughter. The bully mocks him, asking if it's a comedy show. But our guy doesn't back down, raising his guard tightly. He knows these gloves are his only chance to win. Flashing back to 3 weeks ago on the rooftop, Min-Chai mysteriously brings out a cardboard box. Inside is the secret counterattack gear tailor-made for our boy. Looking at the absurdly large gloves, our boy is highly skeptical at first. But under Min-Chai's absolute authority, a highly targeted hellish training session officially begins. To prepare our boy for the massive school bully, Min-Chai kicked off a hellish training session with a baseball bat, sending him flying before he could even react. Seeing him on the ground, Min-Chai strictly ordered him to strengthen his legs, initiating a torturous lower body regimen. From that day on, our boy even had to do duck walks to school. The training was absolute madness. Our boy had to do invisible chair squats during class, and even trembled in tears while trying to eat lunch at the cafeteria. Under Min-Chai's relentless supervision, there was absolutely no chance to slack off. He even had to maintain the agonizing invisible chair pose while using the bathroom. The craziest part was that when Min-Chai wanted to rest, our boy had to act as her human chair. She even teased him about enjoying the moment. With his legs completely giving out, our boy yelled in agony and collapsed. They tumbled to the ground together, and a blushing Min-Chai instantly yelled at him for being a pervert. Back to the training ground, after surviving the inhumane leg torture, our boy actually managed to stand his ground and block Min-Chai's fierce bat swing perfectly. Seeing our boy take consecutive heavy hits without flinching, Min-Chai looked genuinely surprised, finally acknowledging the results of his desperate hard work. With a satisfied smile, Min-Chai knew that as long as our boy could block these blows with his solid stance, defeating that massive bully was no longer an impossible dream. Facing our boy's challenge, the giant bully just laughs it off. Relying on his massive size, he swings a brutal punch straight at him. Our boy doesn't back down. Clenching his teeth, he raises his guard to take the explosive hit head-on, bracing for the massive impact. The punch is devastating enough to stagger him backward. But to everyone's absolute shock, our guy actually stays on his feet instead of getting knocked out cold. Seeing his heavy strike blocked, the giant is completely enraged. He unleashes a storm of furious punches, desperately trying to break through our boy's defense. Amidst the brutal assault, his roommate's tactical advice echoes in his mind. Guys with that much bulk burn out fast. You just need to survive for 30 seconds. Taking hit after hit, our guy hangs on for dear life. He keeps his guard up tight, silently counting down the agonizing 30 seconds in his head. 30 seconds hit. Just as predicted, the giant runs completely out of gas. His heavy body sags as he starts gasping frantically for air. The bully furiously mocks him for only blocking. But our boy knows exactly what this means. The giant is slowed down, and it's time for the ultimate counterattack. Seizing the opening, our boy dashes forward and delivers a devastating headbutt straight to the bully's face. This was the exact tactic his mentor drilled into him. A single precise strike to the jaw could instantly end the fight. The strike hits home. Seeing his opponent's eyes roll back as he wobbles, our boy thinks he has finally secured the victory. But in a cruel twist of fate, the massive, unconscious bully falls straight forward, completely crushing our boy underneath his dead weight. To make matters worse, the heavy impact of the fall instantly wakes the bully up. He grabs our boy's chin with a cruel, mocking sneer. Remembering his mentor's warning that missing this chance would doom him, and hearing the crowd's merciless laughter, our boy is plunged into sheer panic. Trapped in a suffocating headlock by the sheer size difference, his supposed critical hit has instead left him completely defenseless and at the bully's mercy. Just as all hope seems lost, a sudden commotion erupts. Someone is forcefully pushing their way through the crowd, but are they friend or foe? Meanwhile, the senior executives of the Invincible Gang grab the front row seats. To them, this isn't a serious duel, just a fun little show to cure their boredom. Even their book-loving second-in-command, Daniel, is dragged along to watch. The gang casually points and laughs, their faces full of arrogance. Oh, someone's already mounted? Following their mocking comments, the situation on the battlefield has truly reached a critical point. Back to the fight, the massive Hong Daebong has our boy completely pinned. Using his absolute weight advantage, he rains down heavy punches relentlessly. The heavy thuds echo endlessly. Completely overpowered, our boy can barely protect his vitals as his consciousness starts to fade from the brutal strikes. Even the bystanders think he'll be beaten to death. Just as Jae-hyuk is about to give up, Minchi's sharp voice echoes in his mind. Are you really going to lose like this? Awakened by the roar, our boy remembers their training from days ago. He was watching an MMA video, asking how to escape a mount. Hoping for a secret technique, Minchi simply drops a brutal truth bomb. Even pros can't do it. You can't escape. That harsh reality leaves our boy totally stunned. Flashback to the special jiu-jitsu training. When asked how to escape a giant's full mount, Minchi initially says it's hopeless, but eventually gives in to our boy's pleading. Minchi lies down for a practical demonstration, but our guy gets distracted and is immediately scolded. Jokes aside, the real escape technique is revealed. Back to reality, it's brutal. The massive Hong Daebong is mounting our boy, raining down savage punches that leave him completely defenseless. Daebong laughs maniacally as he brutally pins him down, mocking him that being a punching bag is just the inevitable destiny of a loser. Screw destiny. Flashing back to his training, our guy bends one leg and thrusts his hips into a shoulder bridge, miraculously throwing off the giant's heavy body. Following up with a textbook hip escape, he instantly stands up. But the furious giant immediately counters with a heavy punch, sending him flying backward. Seeing this, the surrounding bullies burst into roaring laughter, mocking our boy with every breath they take. Bloody but unbowed, our guy remembers his tactic, the headbutt. With a fierce glare, he dashes straight into the danger to launch his ultimate counterattack. Our boy doesn't hesitate. He unleashes a crisp left jab followed by a solid straight right, landing heavy blows squarely on his opponent's face. The sudden counterattack leaves the crowd completely stunned. Even the thugs watching on the sidelines can tell that those hits dealt some serious damage. Hoping to keep the momentum going, our boy charges in with his arms swinging wildly. However, his reckless, amateurish moves instantly draw ruthless laughter from the bystanders. Sure enough, absolute power shuts down reckless attacks. The big guy easily catches our boy's arms and uses his massive weight to brutally press him down. Are you done messing around? Now completely furious, the giant radiates a terrifying aura. Clashing his red gloves together, he declares he's about to get serious. Seeing the furious giant charging at him like a bulldozer, our boy instantly breaks into a cold sweat. Trapped and desperate, he realizes he might actually be doomed this time. Empowered by the heavy red gloves, the bald villain lands a devastating punch that sends our boy flying. As he rolls on the ground in pain, the surrounding thugs burst into mocking laughter. Lying on his back, our boy knows he can't survive another direct hit. But fueled by the worried gazes of his friends, he grits his teeth and forces himself back onto his feet. Forced to fight barehanded, he braces himself against the villain's aggressive stance. Meanwhile, Daniel, calmly reading on the sidelines, keenly observes that losing the gloves might actually give our boy the upper hand. Completely unaware of what's coming, the bald villain smugly tests out the stolen gloves. Drunk on their power, he arrogantly taunts our boy to make the next move. Driven into a corner, our boy instinctively throws a punch. But the moment his fists fly, he's stunned without the gloves weighing him down. His strikes cut through the air at a terrifying speed. Watching his shocked expression, Minchai smiles knowingly. It turns out those mysterious red gloves weren't just for protection, they were training weights that weighed a staggering 10 kilograms combined. This was Minchai's secret hellish training all along, making him fight and spar under extreme added weight. Now that his limiters are finally off, the real counterattack is about to begin. Facing the giant's heavy punch, our boy thought he was doomed. But after dodging, he realizes the huge gloves make the enemy's movements incredibly predictable. Since he can read the attacks, it's time to fight back. Our guy seizes the opening and lands a solid combo right on the giant's face. However, these fierce strikes can't even scratch the giant's thick armor. Our boy has to rely on footwork and heavier hooks to find a breakthrough. The giant laughs off the punches as mere mosquito bites. Watching closely, Daniel points out the cruel truth. It's a weight difference that power can't overcome. Exhausted against this impenetrable meat shield, our boy desperately searches for an answer. Then, his mentor's voice echoes, if his whole body is covered in fat. Then aim for the only spot with no fat at all, the knees. Destroy the load-bearing joint, and even the biggest giant will crash down. Facing a massive opponent, our boy smartly switches tactics. He lands a fierce high kick straight to the legs, leaving the crowd completely stunned. The giant tries to play it off, mocking the kicks as mere tickles. But his bloody face and furious yelling tell a completely different story. Our boy sharply notices the giant is gassing out, his punches growing sluggish. He easily dodges the heavy swings and mercilessly targets that same knee. Dodge, kick, dodge, kick. Under this relentless and precise assault, the giant's knee joint finally gives out, turning into a massive, angry bruise. Hearing the ruthless mockery from the crowd, the giant completely loses his mind. Limping and panting, he furiously rips off his boxing gloves, ready to kill. In this critical moment, our guy recalls his trainer's advice. Just the threat of a kick will make him flinch. Without hesitation, he raises his leg for a feint. Right on cue, the giant instinctively clutches his battered knee and steps back, leaving himself wide open. Now, our boy's true finishing move is aimed squarely at the fatal spot without fat. Flashback to their training sessions, Minchai was giving our boy a crash course on human anatomy. Pointing to the solar plexus, she explained that a solid strike to this unprotected spot could instantly shut down any tough guy. To build his muscle memory, she constantly emphasized these vital targets. For someone with a physical disadvantage like him, hitting these exact spots is the only way to turn the tide in a real fight. Back to reality, our boy is getting brutally crushed by the giant Hong Daebong. Coughing up blood against the sheer weight difference, he locks his eyes on the charging beast, desperately waiting for the perfect opening. Minchai's voice echoes in his mind once again. To take down a monster of this size, you must aim for the ultimate reset button that puts anyone to sleep, the chin. Channeling those hellish sparring memories, our guy spots the exact moment Daebong recklessly lunges forward. With everything he has left, he unleashes a devastating flying knee strike. A flawless, direct hit to the jaw. Following a heavy thud, Daebong's eyes roll back instantly. The 100-kilogram giant loses all consciousness and crashes violently to the ground. Dead silence fills the air as the dust settles around the fallen bully. Covered in blood and panting heavily, our boy stares at the knocked-out giant in pure disbelief. Did I actually win? With the massive Hong Daebong crashing to the ground, the crowd of bullies completely loses their minds, unable to believe the former underdog actually won. Han Philip, boss of the Invincible Gang, bursts into laughter, claiming it was totally worth delaying his meeting for this show. Beside him, his second-in-command Daniel doesn't even look up from his book, just thinking his boss is way too relaxed. In the crowd, the orange-haired bully Kwok Han Sok is in pure disbelief. Gritting his teeth at the sight of his defeated ally, he's fully convinced that our boy's victory was nothing but pure luck. And what is our boy doing right now? Wiping the blood from his mouth, he instantly bolts. After all, he's still surrounded by furious bullies, and sticking around would just mean getting jumped. However, his slightly awkward escape is being completely recorded by a freshman girl from afar. In her eyes, this senior who dared to fight back against the tyrant is just incredibly cool. Meanwhile, in the school's hidden gym storage, the invincible gang members are gathering to smoke, drink, and carelessly discuss their shady illegal trades. As the boss, Han Philip easily blends into the chaos, enjoying the thrill of total control. With our boy's rising fame, he has clearly become the new prey for these true villains, and the real danger is just starting to surface. The thugs of the Invincibles gather in a dim room, anxiously waiting for their boss to arrive. Just then, distinct footsteps echo outside, instantly drawing everyone's attention to the door. Han Philip, the top dog of the Invincibles, finally makes his entrance with a signature relaxed smile. Meanwhile, the guy calmly reading a book amidst the chaos is Daniel, the gang's second in command. Curious about the delay, a blonde subordinate asks if Philip was out scouting that promising freshman, Hong Daebong. Philip just laughs and shakes his head, revealing that Daebong actually lost the fight, leaving the whole crew in disbelief. When the blonde guy suggests recruiting the winner instead, an amused smirk creeps onto Philip's face as he recalls the match. He admits he's unsure of our boy's true skills, but finds him highly entertaining. For now, Philip decides to sit back and watch how far his new prey can go. Days quickly pass by as dusk turns to night. Our boy and his tough roommate Lee Min-chai are back to their grueling study routine, both feeling the weight of the endless textbooks. The relentless math problems have Min-chai groaning in frustration, and our guy is sweating bullets too. Taking a breather, he nervously speaks up, asking his combat mentor for some urgent advice. With a hint of pride, our boy mentions it's been 3 days since he took down the massive bully Hong Daebong. But the problem is, someone recorded the whole fight and posted it online. Thanks to that viral video, our boy has become an overnight celebrity at school, even drawing in delinquents from other areas. Facing this overwhelming attention, he's on the verge of a total meltdown. Min-chai thinks it's natural for the winner to get attention, but our guy never wanted this so-called honor. Now, everywhere he goes, random punks are stepping up to challenge him. Trembling and frustrated, he wonders why people won't just leave him alone even after he wins. Min-chai brutally shatters his illusion, pointing out that he still looks like an easy target. Shocked by the harsh truth, our boy realizes his physical progress hasn't changed his aura. Seeing him so discouraged, Min-chai's gaze deepens, ready to teach him what it truly takes to project strength. Hearing Min-chai's advice about never being bullied again, our boy gulps nervously. He finally understands that to escape his miserable fate, he must become undeniably strong. She sharply warns him that the next time he's challenged, he must not run away, but completely crush his opponent. Her words slowly replace his cowardice with a firm resolve. Even though he knows fighting is inevitable, cold sweat drips down his face as he wonders who his next opponent will be. Right on cue, an unexpected guest with an orange mushroom cut makes a flashy entrance. His exaggerated self-introduction completely catches our boy off guard. Faced with a sinister-looking Kwok Han-suk, our guy breaks into a cold sweat. Stuttering in shock, his mind races to figure out where this delinquent came from. The scene cuts to the dead of night. It turns out the sinister Han-suk is reckless enough to steal his dad's car, joyriding through the streets and bragging to his buddy. Brushing off his friend's jokes, Han-suk casually flicks his cigarette and slams the gas pedal. As the car speeds away into the night, the real threat of the story finally begins to surface. Kwok Han-suk is joyriding with a middle school buddy, only to get roasted. His friend brutally mocks him for being a cowardly kiss-ass back in the day, predicting he'll just be a joke in his new high school. Struck a nerve, Han-suk furiously defends his cowardice as networking skills. To assert his dominance, he claims he must show his fangs and prove to everyone that he is a vicious predator. His insidious plan is to hunt down a famous but weak herbivore to build his own rep. Despite his friend laughing at his zero combat experience, Han-suk remains delusionally confident in his 6 months of crash course boxing. His carefully chosen prey is none other than our boy, who recently took down several school bullies. In his arrogant eyes, our hero's victories were pure luck, making him the perfect stepping stone for fame. Back in the school hallway, the scheming Han-suk is already stalking our boy from the shadows. Our guy seems to sense the chilling gaze behind him, unaware that a cunning trap is quietly closing in. With a swaggering step, the orange-haired delinquent Kwok Han-suk makes his flashy entrance. Wearing a frivolous smile, he walks right up and enthusiastically greets our boy. Startled by this sudden burst of overenthusiasm, our boy breaks into a cold sweat. Faced with this guy aggressively demanding friendship, he is completely at a loss. Before our boy can even process what's happening, Hansok leans in and loudly brings up his glorious victory over the school bullies, instantly drawing shocked stares from bystanders. Then, playing the dramatic part, Hansok rubs his forehead and admits he was deeply impressed by our boy's combat performance that day, claiming to be completely won over. To fully win his trust, Hansok unleashes a barrage of flattery, praising our guy's epic comeback as being just like an unbelievable scene from a superhero movie. Hearing this blatant praise, our boy is completely stunned, his eyes wide in disbelief. He never imagined that anyone would ever call his usually cowardly self super cool. After all, other than his mom, no one had ever complimented him like this. This textbook flattery moves our boy to tears, completely wiping away his remaining guard. Taken aback by the sudden greeting, our boy awkwardly introduces himself. To his surprise, the orange-haired guy responds with a warm smile and a handshake, asking to be friends. For the usually isolated Jaehyuk, this is incredibly touching. Seeing the guy's seemingly genuine attitude, our naive boy completely drops his guard. He thinks this flashy dude might actually have a heart of gold, as they happily wave goodbye. However, the moment he turns around, his smile twists into something sinister. It was all a trap to lure in his prey. Watching the gullible Jaehyuk take the bait, he plots to strike when the time is right. Back at the apartment, our boy is now a strict math tutor, firing off formulas at the whiteboard. Meanwhile, the fierce fighter Minchai is sweating bullets trying to survive the sea of math problems. While Minchai struggles with her life against math, Jaehyuk suddenly spaces out with a goofy blush. He's completely replaying that let's be friends moment from earlier, thinking he acted so cool. After all, this is the first time anyone besides his mom has been nice to him. Caught up in the joy, he asks Minchai what friends are, only to get ruthlessly yelled at by her out of sheer academic frustration. Undeterred, our boy carefully asks why she doesn't hang out with anyone at school. Annoyed, Minchai bluntly replies that she came all the way to Seoul just to study, and has absolutely zero time for silly friendship games. While studying, Minchai casually mentions that her well-endowed best friend is coming over today. Right on cue, the doorbell suddenly rings. Startled to hear she's already at the door, our boy is completely caught off guard. Shouted at by Minchai, he frantically sprints down the hall to answer it. As he grabs the door handle, our boy's heart is pounding out of his chest. His mind races with Minchai's description, making him flush with extreme nervousness. The door finally opens, revealing Minchai's outgoing best friend, Sarah Hong. She greets our sweating boy enthusiastically, breaking the ice with a bright and cheerful laugh. This girl is completely fearless. She immediately starts playfully smacking our boy's forehead, laughing loudly and calling him a nerd. Faced with this overwhelming enthusiasm, he is left utterly speechless. Munchie's wild best friend, Sarah Hong, suddenly drops by. The two excitedly hug it out, screaming so loud they almost deafen our boy. After catching up, Munchai introduces our boy to her friend. The two girls laugh and start gossiping right in front of him. Hearing that our guy is a bit naive, the bold Sarah instantly finds her new target. She pats his head and starts teasing him mercilessly about his preferences. Faced with this, our flustered boy starts sweating buckets. Amused by his hilarious reaction, Sarah bursts into laughter and unexpectedly lunges right at him. Before he can even process what's happening, Sarah tackles him to the floor and smoothly locks him in a tight triangle choke. Up against another martial arts expert, our boy who hasn't learned ground escapes yet is completely helpless. Within seconds, he passes out from the chokehold. Sometime later, a heavy foot on his chest jolts him awake. He sits up in total confusion, his brain still trying to reboot. Looking down at him, Munchai ruthlessly roasts him for passing out, then naturally demands he use his card to buy them chicken feet. It's gonna be a long night for our boy. While enjoying their meal, Minchai casually drops a bombshell. Our boy's mom is going away on a business trip for a few days. Hearing this, Sarah's eyes light up. She immediately brings out some hidden soju, leaving our pure-hearted boy sweating bullets over this rule-breaking move. Ignoring the underage drinking rules, the two former delinquents go straight into heavy drinking mode. Watching them chug away, our boy can only sit there sweating nervously. A few hours later, the chaotic drinking session ends. Looking at the drunk girls passed out all over the room, our boy sighs and resigns himself to cleaning up. Not wanting Minchai to catch a cold, our boy uses all his strength to pick her up. It should have been a sweet moment, but things are about to go terribly wrong. Before he can lay her down properly, a heavily drunk Sarah stumbles over and crashes right into him. The sudden impact instantly short-circuits his brain. Pinned down and powerless, our boy ends up trapped on the bed between the two flushed girls, too scared to move an inch. With the tension rising, he is definitely in for a sleepless night. Our boy wakes up gasping for air, only to realize he's trapped in a terrifying death grip between the two fighter girls. Pinned down like a human body pillow, he can't even muscle his way out. He somehow survives until morning. But the moment his roommate wakes up and spots him in the bed, all hell breaks loose as she furiously demands if he has a death wish. Dripping with nervous sweat, our guy tries to explain that they literally held him hostage all night. Hearing his panicked defense, a newly awakened Sarah simply bursts into laughter. After the morning chaos, the trio settles down for some ramen. Out of nowhere, the energetic Sarah suggests they should have a sparring session since she heard our boy is training in martial arts. Learning that this blonde beauty trained at the same dojo as his mentor, our boy realizes this is actually the perfect opportunity to test his newly acquired combat skills against a real fighter. They head outside to settle the challenge. As the spar begins, our boy instantly drops into his fighting stance. But after one glance at his guard, his opponent notices a fatal flaw in his posture. Facing the formidable southpaw Hong Sarah, our boy is still politely touching gloves to get ready. But before he can even take his stance, Sarah raises an eyebrow and asks why he isn't attacking yet. Before he can process the question, Sarah lands a heavy surprise punch square on his face. Seeing him completely dazed, she bursts into laughter, reminding him that there's no room to let his guard down in a real spar. Knocked to the ground, our boy complains about the ruthless sneak attack. However, Sarah and Minchai just laugh it off, teaching him a harsh lesson. In a real fight, enemies won't wait for you to get ready. Standing back up, Sarah extends her right hand with an open palm, striking a very strange inviting stance. Confused but determined, our guy grits his teeth and decides to test the waters with a quick jab. Our boy strikes decisively, but to his absolute shock, his fierce jab is effortlessly blocked by her single open hand. Refusing to give up, he dashes forward for a barrage of attacks. But will this fierce assault actually break through Sarah's defense? Facing her flawless defense, our boy quietly analyzes the situation. He notices Sarah backs away with every block, making it impossible to string together combos. Since the distance is an issue, he takes the initiative. Our guy dashes forward, planning to break the stalemate with a swift jab combo. But he is way too naive, as it's a trap. Sarah seizes the moment and delivers a devastating straight punch right to his face. Taking that heavy hit, our boy instantly blacks out. Just as he groggily regains consciousness, a strangely pungent smell hits his nose. Jolting awake, our guy almost loses his mind. To wake him up, this crazy lady actually stuck her toes right into his nostrils. Facing Sarah's ruthless teasing, he barely manages to get back into his stance. However, his head is still spinning, and he completely lost his punching rhythm. Just then, Minchai can't stand watching anymore. She loudly reminds our boy that to break through, he must observe Sarah's stance. Hearing this, it finally dawns on our guy. Sarah has her right hand and foot forward, which means she's a tricky southpaw fighter. Despite being teased about her spelling, Minchai quickly changes the subject. To defeat a southpaw, what is the real key to victory? To make our boy fully understand his defeat, Sarah breaks down the mechanics of facing a left-hander. Since their dominant feet align, southpaws easily use the longer distance to gain the upper hand. Continuing the review, Sarah explains how she used this distance advantage to constantly block with her leading hand while stepping back to control the pace. This perfectly baited our frustrated guy into dashing forward, allowing her to easily seize the opening and land a devastating left counter punch. Sweating over this hardcore tactical breakdown, our boy finally gets it. Having only ever trained with Minchai, he was completely unprepared for such a tricky southpaw strategy. Before the lesson even sinks in, Sarah claims that real combat is the best teacher and unexpectedly lands another heavy punch right on his face. Our poor guy gets sent tumbling to the ground and locked in a tight submission. He begs to stop the training, but Sarah clearly isn't done having fun. A few days later in the school hallway, Sarah is cheerfully strolling with a basketball when she suddenly spots a familiar figure ahead. Convinced it's our boy, she cheekily hurls the basketball right at him as a greeting. With a loud thud, the ball scores a direct hit on the back of his head. Out of nowhere, our boy gets hit in the head by a flying basketball in the hallway. The thrower gives a half-hearted apology, playfully claiming it was just a mix-up. Too timid to stand up for himself, our boy forces a smile and says it's fine. This is exactly what the blonde bully wanted, secretly mocking his submissive reaction. Wanting to keep him around as a long-term toy, the bully pretends to be nice and hands over a strawberry snack as a fake peace offering. After forcing him to accept it, the bully even invites him to a PC cafe. Turning away, he feels incredibly smug about his manipulative little game. Just as he's busy feeling full of himself, he spots 3 heavy hitters in the hallway, notorious middle school delinquents, who just started their first year. Looking to boost his own street cred, the bully decides to make a move. He confidently struts over and greets the tough guys with a wide, fake smile. He proudly introduces himself, and even throws an arm around one of them. The delinquent coldly tells him to follow them to the recycling area, and this idiot actually thinks his social skills are working, completely unaware of the beating that awaits. Meanwhile, a group of delinquents is gossiping about the guy who took down the giant Hong Dae-bong. The orange-haired Kwok Hanseel takes this chance to brag and spin the story his way. To show off to his buddies, Hanseel shamelessly claims that our boy is just his errand boy, and even boasts about putting him in his place soon. Speak of the devil. Just as the group enters the cafeteria with their trays, they spot our boy quietly eating his lunch in the crowd. The gang starts teasing Hanseel, doubting if he really has the guts to mess with him. Feeling the pressure and sweating bullets, Hanseel nervously tries to play it cool. Desperate to prove he's the boss, he puts his arms around his friends, telling them to watch and learn, before boldly marching towards our boy with his tray. Without warning, he dumps his entire tray of hot food and soup right on our boy's head. Shocked by this sudden public humiliation, our guy freezes, but it's clear a new storm is brewing. In the cafeteria, the orange-haired delinquent intentionally dumps his lunch tray on our boy's head, giving a fake apology about his hand slipping. He acts like a buddy to our boy's face, but the moment he turns around, he and his gang ruthlessly mock him for being an easy target. Humiliated by the stares of the other students, our boy is left completely distressed, while his tough roommate Minchai silently watches the whole ordeal. With no other choice, our guy retreats to the restroom to wash the mess out of his hair, lamenting his ruined uniform. Desperate for a connection, he forces himself to believe it was just an honest mistake, quietly swallowing his pride to keep the peace. Later, the bully brings our boy to a PC cafe and offers to pay. This rare experience of gaming with a friend actually leaves him feeling touched. But before he can even enjoy this fake friendship, Minchai and her friend Sarah unexpectedly show up right next to his seat. Seeing the girls skipping out to play games, our boy suddenly realizes that this is the real reason Minchai postponed his brutal training session tonight. Our boy is at the PC bang with Hansuk, but his roommate Minchai is also there, warning him to act like a total stranger to avoid any trouble. As they load into Summoner's Rift, Hansuk plays the friendly mentor, leaning in and coaching our boy through the match. The peace doesn't last long. A misplay sends Hansuk into a violent rage, slamming the desk and shouting, while our boy trembles and apologizes. The noise draws complaints from other customers. Faced with the pressure, even the arrogant Hansuk has to quiet down and keep his temper in check. Suddenly, Hansuk spots 2 attractive girls nearby. He has no idea that one of them is actually our boy's terrifyingly strong roommate, Minchai. As Hansuk starts rating their looks and bragging about how easily he could get their numbers, our boy is sweating buckets from the sheer awkwardness. Hearing Hansuk's vulgar comments, our boy closes his eyes in dread, desperately hoping this idiot doesn't actually try to make a move. When Minchai stands up to head for the restroom, Hansuk thinks it's his big chance, completely unaware he's walking straight into a disaster. In the middle of the tense situation, someone frantically tries to open their phone camera for evidence, but the delinquent swiftly snatches it away. Seeing things get worse, our boy finally steps up. He firmly grabs the orange-haired delinquent's wrist, commanding him to stop right there. He squeezes the guy's arm tightly, crumpling his sleeve. Annoyed by the sudden interference, the punk glares back and asks if he even knows her. Even though he's trembling with fear, our boy pushes past it. With red eyes, he roars at the top of his lungs, "She's my friend, you bastard." Jae-hyuk threatens to call the cops. Not wanting police trouble, the delinquent slaps him across the neck and casually walks off with a nasty warning. Our guy is left sweating and completely shaken. But the nightmare isn't over. The very next day, that same red-slippered menace comes sliding right through the doors. While our boy is trying to study, the class bully, Kwok Hansol, suddenly approaches with a menacing look. He demands our guy go buy him bread, as the girls nearby mock the situation. Seeing no reaction, Hansol puts on a fake, friendly act. He shamelessly brings up small favors from the past, trying to guilt-trip our boy into becoming his personal errand boy. He even starts making comments about Minchai right to our boy's face. Our guy's eyes turn cold as he snaps back, asking if he looks like a lackey, leaving Hansol stunned. The girl's laughter pushes Hansol over the edge. To save face, he snaps and delivers a brutal kick to our boy's stomach, trying to reassert his dominance through violence. After the attack, Hansol squats arrogantly, claiming it's just a favor between friends. The classroom falls silent as everyone watches our boy endure this humiliation. He crosses the line further by grabbing our boy's head and insulting his mother. Adding insult to injury, he strikes our guy's face with a slipper, showing zero restraint. Before leaving, Hansol brags about his violent past reputation, warning our boy not to test him. He doesn't realize that our guy's silence is just the calm before the storm. Getting ready for the upcoming fight, the cunning bully quack Hansol is acting incredibly arrogant. Relying on his 6 months of boxing, he doesn't take our boy seriously at all. He wildly throws punches in front of his crew to show off, but secretly, the memory of our boy's fierce glare actually has him sweating bullets over losing. To guarantee a win, the treacherous bully sneaks over to our boy's locker. He shamelessly stuffs crushed glass shards into his sneakers, feeling incredibly proud of his own dirty trick. Meanwhile, a sweating Jaehyuk is on the phone with Minchai. Despite his obvious nervousness, he remembers her advice to never run away and hardens his resolve for the fight. Just as the duel is about to begin, someone in the shadows secretly sets up a camera. How will our boy survive this trap-filled showdown? Right before the big fight, Minchai ruthlessly reminds our boy about their study session. He complains but starts warming up, completely unaware of the deadly trap already hidden inside his shoe. The moment he steps down hard, disaster strikes. Hidden glass shards pierce deep into his foot. Our boy collapses in agonizing pain as blood stains the floor, leaving Minchai in absolute shock. Before he can even process the pain, the treacherous orange-haired villain charges in like a rabid dog. This coward deliberately timed his ambush, giving our boy absolutely no chance to breathe or treat his wound. Seeing our boy bleeding and unable to stand, the villain shows zero mercy. He launches a brutal flying kick. Off balance and severely injured, our guy can't dodge and goes crashing down. "Why are you staying on the ground, loser?" The villain arrogantly taunts him. Meanwhile, our boy is paralyzed by the agonizing pain of glass tearing his flesh, struggling just to get back on his feet. Taking full advantage of the situation, the coward ruthlessly unleashes a barrage of heavy kicks right at our defenseless guy's head. The massive impact is enough to make anyone lose consciousness. Watching our boy writhing in pain, unable to plant his feet, the villain flashes a sick, triumphant smirk. His dirty glass trap worked perfectly. What was supposed to be a fair fight has now turned into a desperate, one-sided slaughter. Minchai rushes to the scene, only to find our boy forced into a duel with the cunning bully. Worse yet, his foot is bleeding heavily from a glass trap, making it hard to even stand. Seeing our boy struggling to stand, the villain shows no mercy. Relying on his brief boxing training, he aggressively closes in and lands a heavy jab right into our boy's stomach. He follows up with a fierce 1-2 combo, drawing gasps from the crowd. Under this relentless barrage, our guy can only grit his teeth and endure, completely unable to fight back. Minchai instantly spots the fatal flaw. As a right-hander, our boy must plant his weight on his left foot to punch. With his injured foot offering no support, dodging or counterattacking is impossible. Realizing our boy is defenseless, the villain grows even more aggressive. A brutal left hook to the head, followed by a devastating uppercut, sends our guy reeling in a completely one-sided beatdown. Seeing our guy stumble, the villain smugly spreads his arms, soaking in the wild cheers of his cronies. To everyone watching, this fight seems totally over. Amidst the chaos, a mysterious silver-haired girl quietly slips to the front. Instead of being scared, she holds up her phone, watching the unfolding duel with great interest. However, our boy isn't giving up just yet. Biting down hard on his bandage, he fights through the excruciating pain. Facing this impossible disadvantage, his mind races, desperately searching for a way to turn the tables. Completely overwhelmed by his opponent, our boy is pushed to the brink of despair by his bleeding foot. Just as he considers giving up, a training memory flashes through his mind. But reality gives him no time to breathe. The crazed villain presses forward like a mad dog, landing heavy punches while arrogantly declaring himself the true apex predator. The thug's fists rain down, leaving our boy defenseless. Trying to crush his dignity in front of the crowd, the villain violently grabs his hair to deliver ultimate humiliation. Despite the brutal dragging and beating, our bloodied boy refuses to surrender. Enduring excruciating pain, he shuts his eyes and desperately searches his mind for a way to turn the tables. His eyes suddenly snap open. He remembers a crucial detail from sparring with the southpaw fighter Sarah. Her unique right foot forward stance might just be his ticket out of this mess. Since his injured foot can't support him properly, he decides to flip the script. Enduring the piercing pain, our boy boldly shifts directly into a southpaw combat stance. This unorthodox move stuns the observing gang bosses. After all, suddenly changing stances in a life-or-death fight is as absurd as a right-hander trying to use chopsticks with their left hand. Even with his foot bleeding from the broken glass, our boy doesn't back down. Remembering his training, he shifts his weight to his toes and boldly switches to a southpaw stance. The orange-haired punk arrogantly mocks his sudden stance change. Little does he know, our boy has already endured brutal sparring sessions exactly for situations where his leg is injured. Facing his dismissive opponent, our boy reaches out to constantly tap and parry the punk's lead hand. This seemingly harmless gesture is actually a brilliant tactical setup. Just as taught in training, this annoying hand-trapping tactic quickly breaks the punk's composure. Furious that his lead arm is restricted, he recklessly swings his free fist. But that's exactly what our boy was waiting for. Gritting his teeth through the pain, he locks onto the opening and launches a heavy counterpunch right back. This perfectly timed left-handed strike is lightning fast, smashing directly into the bully's face. The arrogant punk's face contorts in agony as he reels backward, completely stunned. Our boy finally seizes the moment, landing a clean and devastating hook right on the bully's face. The sheer impact sends the cocky punk staggering backward, leaving the onlookers in absolute awe. Watching our boy dominate, his training mentor is having the time of her life. She beams with pride, eagerly bragging to her stunned friend about her student's incredible performance. The bully, however, is completely overwhelmed. Faced with a storm of punches, he has no choice but to awkwardly retreat. The humiliation of being beaten by someone he considered a loser completely shatters his ego. Fueled by pure rage and desperation, the cornered bully throws away any sense of honor. He grabs a heavy bicycle wheel and mercilessly smashes it straight into our boy's head, catching him off guard. This dirty move shocks even the bystanders, but the psycho is far past caring. In his twisted mind, there are no rules in a street fight. He keeps smashing the bike until it's completely destroyed. Accompanied by terrifying crashing sounds, the madman keeps swinging, sick enough to actually enjoy the brutal assault. Losing his momentum, our boy can only cover his head and struggle to survive the onslaught. Is this the end of his miraculous comeback? Just when things look utterly hopeless, a crucial memory flashes through our boy's mind. Do you know the fatal weakness of a southpaw counter-striker? In a flashback, his mentor reveals the ultimate survival secret. When our boy asks what to do when backed into a corner, she confidently explains that a perfectly timed counterattack can break any dead end. Following the instructions perfectly, our boy keeps his guard up and absorbs the heavy blows. To make his arrogant opponent completely drop his guard, he even fakes being overwhelmed by the pain. Just as the villain gets sloppy, our boy plants his back foot firmly against the wall. Using the powerful push-off, he unleashes a devastating straight punch right when it counts. The flawless counterattack sends the villain crashing to the floor. But our boy remembers the final rule of the lesson: if they aren't completely knocked out, you mount them and finish the job. Looking at the scum on the ground, our boy recalls the cruel things he did to his friends. Without giving the villain a second to breathe, another furious punch is already on its way. With a deafening roar, our boy unleashes a storm of relentless punches, pouring all his pent-up rage into every strike. This long-awaited counterattack has finally crushed the nightmare of bullying once and for all. Pinned to the ground and losing the 1v1, Hansol shamelessly calls out for his gang to jump our boy. But the gang completely ignores him, telling him to fight his own battles, which leaves Hansol cursing in despair. Left with no backup, Hansol takes a one-sided beating. Under our boy's relentless fists, he breaks down and begs for mercy. But his apology is just a dirty trick. In the next second, he pulls out a hidden weapon for a sneak attack, screaming that our boy is going to die. Having already seen through his cunning nature, our boy grabs him by the collar and delivers a ruthless punch to shut down his counterattack. Ignoring Hansel's desperate screams, our boy's eyes burn with fury as he unleashes a final, devastating blow with all his might. After a heavy thud, the once arrogant school bully completely collapses. Our boy sits on top of him, panting heavily from the intense fight. Staring at our boy's blood-stained fists, the entire crowd falls into dead silence. The shocked students finally realize that the school's hierarchy has completely changed. Standing over his defeated opponent with a bloody fist, our boy's sheer brutality leaves the onlookers in absolute shock. Sarah breaks the silence with a hearty laugh. Finding the whole situation incredibly amusing, she declares she had a great time before heading to her bus. Sarah praises his technique before leaving, but our boy blushes and awkwardly reminds her of the special reward she promised if he won. As Sarah playfully leans in to tease him, Minchai is left utterly confused. Thankfully, the bus arrives just in time to save him from a heart attack. Watching the bus drive away, our boy drops the joke and silently thanks his fiery mentor for helping him defeat such a tough opponent. On the subway ride home, Minchai suddenly asks why he fought so aggressively today. The question takes our boy completely by surprise. Reminding him of his furious, uncharacteristic punches, Minchai points out that he completely lost his usual cool during the fight. He quietly admits he lost it because the bully messed with his friend. Minchai immediately drops a reality check, bluntly stating he has no friends. He firmly replies that it's someone he wants to be friends with. Minchai warns him not to lose control next time, but the dangerous path ahead remains uncertain. A group of bullies hangs out, arrogantly laughing and bragging about a defenseless kid they just humiliated. Their twisted fun is interrupted by heavy footsteps. The newcomer is Co. Doyen, and facing these thugs, his eyes radiate a chilling calmness. The lead bully completely dismisses Doyen. He deliberately leans in close, mockingly picking his ear while bragging about his middle school glory days to assert dominance. Unfazed by their threats, Doyen calmly declares his true goal, to become the #1 first year. This bold claim instantly sends the trio into hysterical laughter. Treating it like the joke of the century, the bullies mockingly accept his challenge. To them, this arrogant kid is just begging to get crushed. Just as the school bell rings, the lead bully tries to postpone the fight. But Doyen smirks and taunts him for chickening out, instantly stepping on a landmine. Enraged, the bully curses and lunges at Doyen like a wild beast, desperately trying to violently reclaim his lost pride and crush the challenger. But he has no idea what kind of monster he's facing. Doyen flawlessly counters with a storm of lightning-fast punches, ruthlessly crushing the arrogant bully. To prove his worth and join the top gang, this terrifying fighting genius begins a brutal, one-sided massacre, instantly sending his opponent flying with a fierce kick. Like a wild beast losing control, he roars in anger, raining down a relentless barrage of heavy punches on his enemies without mercy. With a final crushing blow, every opponent is left unconscious on the ground. He stands victorious like a god of war over the carnage. Still radiating a fierce aura, he heads straight to the school's gym equipment room and shoves the heavy doors open without hesitation. Behind the door is the hideout of Invincible, the school's biggest gang. The punks inside, busy smoking and playing cards, instantly glare at the uninvited guest. Facing the arrogant bullies, he surprisingly bows respectfully, asking to join their ranks, only to be met with immediate and disdainful mockery. Though he confidently claims he just swept the first years, the gang leaders scoff. If he wants in, he has to hunt down their ultimate target, our boy. Meanwhile, the Invincible gang leader Philip presents a new target. Pointing at a photo of our boy, he declares that defeating him is the only way to earn his approval. A few days later, our boy is grabbing a snack. Since his victory over the bullies, no one dares to mess with him anymore, and he finally gets to enjoy some hard-earned peace. However, the peace is short-lived. A group of self-proclaimed outcasts suddenly surrounds him, excitedly revealing that they've been secretly cheering for their newfound hero against the bullies. Flattered by their enthusiastic praise, our boy blushes in surprise. To celebrate his deeds, these passionate fans immediately invite him to hang out at their secret base, the anime club room. Half reluctantly, our boy follows them and pushes open the club room door. Inside sits another club member, Baek Dasam, who casually looks up at the sudden intrusion. The moment she sees our boy, she covers her face and screams, blushing furiously. He thinks he scared her, but the guys laugh and explain that she's actually his biggest fangirl. A black-haired girl rushes out in a panic, only to trip and fall flat. Blushing with embarrassment, she stands up and awkwardly introduces herself as Baek Dasam. Seeing her clumsy look with mismatched slippers, our boy actually feels a sense of warmth and shyly reaches out to introduce himself. Hearing his name, Dasam gets so excited that she accidentally slaps a club member away, enthusiastically revealing she's his biggest fan and has watched all his fights. With the club members playfully gossiping around them, our boy finally feels a long-lost sense of relaxation and belonging in this cheerful, innocent atmosphere. Meanwhile, somewhere else in the school, delinquent girls impatiently complain about a bullied student taking too long to fetch their food, showing that the shadow of bullying still lingers. Back at the club, everyone gathers around happily. They share snacks while enthusiastically debating the plot of an anime on the screen. The casual chat shifts to their ideal types. Eating snacks on the side, our boy smiles bitterly, thinking he'd be grateful if anyone could just accept his past as a loser. But right in this heartwarming moment, a deafening crash suddenly echoes from outside the door. Daesum covers her face in fear. It seems major trouble has just arrived. At the anime club gathering, Daesum takes off her jacket because of the heat, making the boys around her blush. The atmosphere is light and cheerful. However, the footsteps of an uninvited guest echo in the hallway. Our boy glances at his phone, his expression instantly freezing as he senses approaching danger. The newcomer is the semi-pro fighting genius, Seo Do-yoon. He steps right up to our boy, glaring sharply, and challenges him to a fight without hesitation. Our boy is completely stunned, internally panicking. He just dealt with the school bullies, so why is a monster-level threat coming after him now? Before our boy can even process it, Do-yoon suddenly lashes out, unleashing a devastating punch to instantly knock down a nearby student as a warning. Seeing the innocent student getting trampled, our boy desperately yells at him to stop. Daesum, standing at the door, stares in disbelief and calls out her childhood friend's name. Hearing Daesum's trembling voice, the once ruthless Do-yoon freezes. Traumatic memories of being bullied while trying to protect her in middle school suddenly flood his mind. Seeing the unexpected arrival, Daesum cries out his name in pure shock. Seo Do-yoon. Watching from the sidelines, our boy is completely confused about what's unfolding. The hallway is in chaos. Do-yoon instantly challenges our boy, while a suited thug mercilessly beats another student. Daesum quickly rushes in to stop the violence. But the attacker shows no mercy, landing brutal blows. Watching the poor guy cough up blood, our boy gasps in horror, realizing this looks way more painful than his own beatings. Daesum drops to the floor, desperately crying out her injured friend's name. With the victim barely conscious, the atmosphere becomes incredibly tense and suffocating. Watching Do-yoon's crew leave, our boy is full of questions. But suddenly, a far more terrifying thought strikes him. He completely forgot to buy Minchi's bread. As expected, his failure to deliver the snacks turns Minchi into an absolute demon. She overpowers our boy, casually pinning him to the floor without mercy. Snacking casually, Minchi declares her errands must come first. Crushed under her foot, our boy silently cries, feeling that this hellish punishment is way worse than any school bully. Still, our boy won't surrender easily. Having already crushed 3 notorious bullies under Minchi's training, he has grown stronger. With this newfound confidence, how will he face Do-yoon's deadly challenge? Our boy thought his recent victory would buy him some peace, but he was dead wrong. Instead of backing off, the school's bullies are lining up to challenge him, eager to prove they're tougher. Running from the endless provocations, our guy starts to doubt himself. He wonders if his last opponent was just too weak to earn him any real respect, leaving him as a prime target. His baddest roommate offers a simple, blunt solution. Just get so overwhelmingly strong that no one even dares to look your way. It's time to level up. Since he's decided to stop running, the hellish training resumes immediately. She steps up to demonstrate a brutal new mid-angle strike that perfectly combines a front and side kick. The secret is using the instep to directly target the opponent's liver. But as she brings her foot close to demonstrate the exact angle, our boy gets a little distracted. Instead of studying her form, he actually stops to sniff her foot. Realizing what a total creep he's being, she instantly delivers a ruthless liver kick, sending him crashing to the floor in agony. Trembling on the ground, he learns the hard way that a clean liver shot really is an absolute KO. But there's no time for sympathy, because this brutal lesson has only just begun. Our boy is trying to avoid unwanted fights, but a sudden tap on the shoulder spooks him. He turns to find his anime club friend, Daesum. Seeing her flushed face, our boy thinks he's about to get a romantic confession. But reality hits hard when she instead begs him to fight Seo Do-yoon. The sweet confession he expected turns into a deadly duel request. Completely dumbfounded and sweating profusely, our boy stammers to ask what on earth she means. Daesum explains she overheard some classmates gossiping. Rumor has it that the dangerous Seo Do-yoon is actively hunting our boy down for a brutal fight. The reason makes it even worse. The notorious gang Invincible is recruiting, and their twisted entrance exam requires beating up our newly famous boy. Hearing that he's the official prey for a gang's entrance test, our boy is absolutely terrified. But just as despair sets in, Daesun drops another shocking secret. It turns out this terrifying fighter used to be her childhood friend. Desperate to save Doyen from his dark path, Daesun places all her hope in our boy. Desperate to save her childhood friend from sinking deeper into the gang life, Daesun tearfully begs our boy to defeat Seo Doyen before it's too late. Hearing this, our guy breaks out in a cold sweat. What really shocks him isn't just fighting Doyen, but finding out he's become an initiation target for a literal gang. Trembling, he rejects her heavy request. He confesses that he's just a guy struggling to stop getting bullied, and he has zero confidence in playing the hero to save someone else. Crushed by his refusal, Daesun breaks down in tears, crying and apologizing for asking too much. In her panic to back away, she accidentally trips and falls. Before our boy can even reach out to help, she scrambles to her feet and runs out of the room, leaving him sighing in guilt. Later that night, things finally click for him. No wonder so many thugs have been picking fights lately. The thought of being hunted by a gang leaves him completely anxious. Back home, he vents his frustrations to his hardcore roommate. Without missing a beat, she casually suggests he should just go confront the gang directly and make a deal. Our boy nearly cries, pointing out he doesn't even know where to find them. Calling him a wimp, she grabs her phone, ready to hit up her delinquent contacts for some solid intel on what to do next. After asking around, our boy's friends finally identify the mastermind pulling the strings. It's Philip Han, the leader of the school's biggest gang, Invincible. Following the clue, our boy heads alone to the gym equipment room after school. But the moment he pushes the door open, he's greeted by a room packed with gangsters. Seeing an intruder, the thugs immediately bare their fangs. Just as things are about to get ugly, Philip, sitting in the center, smiles and tells his guys to make way. Even though he's trembling and sweating buckets, our boy clenches his fists and nervously steps right up to the gang boss, determined to get some answers. Gathering his courage, he asks if it's true they're using him as an entry exam. Surprisingly, Philip admits it without hesitation, flashing an amused smile. Seeing our boy's frustration, Philip casually explains that he just finds his struggles highly entertaining, and wants to see exactly how strong his prey can get. To satisfy his twisted amusement, Philip declared an open bounty. Anyone who wants to join Invincible simply has to defeat Kim Jae-hyuk. What's crazier is that to ensure the game stays fun to watch, he set a strict rule: no jumping or ambushing allowed. Every fight must be a fair, supervised one-on-one duel. Invincible's boss drops a cruel bounty: whoever beats our boy first gets to join the gang and enjoy endless wealth and power. Driven into a corner, our guy tries to refuse. But the boss just smirks, threatening him with endless gangings and ambushes if he backs down. Panic sets in as our boy realizes there's no way out. Then, his mentor's voice echoes in his mind: the only way to break this miserable fate is to get stronger and win. Swallowing his fear, our guy proposes a counterbet: if he fights and wins, the hunting game must stop for good. Amused, the boss agrees to the terms. Although he's trembling and sweating bullets, our boy knows this is his only shot at survival. A ruthless battle for his life has just begun. A few weeks later, a narrow alley is packed with thugs fighting for that single spot in the gang. The tension in the air is absolutely explosive. Before they even find our boy, the hounds turn on each other. Some reckless thug decides to pick a fight with Seo Doyen, the semi-pro striking genius. Tonight is going to be wild. Rumors of Seo Doyen's terrifying strength constantly echo through the school. There's always some arrogant fool trying to challenge his authority, claiming they can beat the striking genius at his own game. Meanwhile, in the dim equipment room, our boy gathers his courage to negotiate with the gang's leader. To end his miserable fate, he makes a bold deal: if he wins, the gang must back off forever. After securing the leader's mocking promise, our guy rushes back to the alley. Sweating bullets, he reports the situation to his demon coach Lee Min-shai, confessing that he has officially accepted the dangerous deathmatch. Hearing his reckless decision, Lee Min-shai rolls her eyes and mercilessly roasts him for acting like a tough guy and meddling in such dangerous business. Even with the promise of peace from the gang, the thought of Seo Doyen's overwhelming power leaves our boy terrified. He nervously asks Lee Min-shai if he actually stands a chance against such a monster. Seeing his pathetic state, Lee Min-shai boldly tells him to stop worrying about useless things. To snap him out of it, she casually tosses him her heavy backpack, turning his anxiety into a hilarious bag-carrying chore. As the crisp school bell rings, this brief moment of everyday peace is about to end. With a brutal fight looming closer, time is running out for our boy to prepare. To gather intel on Co Doyen, our boy and Minchai track down Dacium. Once they spot her, they immediately step up to talk. Hearing they want to know about Doyen, Dacium's imagination runs wild. Eyes sparkling, she excitedly grabs our boy's hand. This instantly annoys Minchai. She grabs Dacium by the collar with a death stare, forcing a quick apology while our guy desperately tries to defuse the situation. To avoid a scene, they move to the club room. Hearing about the upcoming fight, Dacium is actually relieved, thinking our boy wants to knock some sense into her childhood friend. Our boy awkwardly explains he just needs tactical intel. After a moment of thought, Dacium drops a bomb. She and Doyen used to train in mixed martial arts together. Hearing about his 3 years of training, Minchai's expression turns serious. Even in similar weight classes, years of formal MMA experience makes a massive difference. And the bad news doesn't end there. Doyen actually won every single tournament he entered. Facing such a flawless fighter, how will our boy manage to survive? Hearing about Doyen's insane training history leaves our boy sweating. To show them what they're up against, Dacium pulls up one of his old match videos. Inside the octagon, Doyen looks completely unfazed by his opponent, smoothly dodging every strike without breaking a sweat. His flexibility and speed are off the charts. Even when off balance, he easily finds the opening and lands a flawless counterattack. Following up with a vicious high kick, Doyen mercilessly drops his opponent, knocking him out cold in an instant. A brutal KO just 15 seconds into the first round. With an undefeated streak, it's clear why Doyen earned the title of striking genius. Dacium mercilessly adds that his striking is already at a semi-pro level, leaving our boy utterly hopeless. How is he supposed to beat a monster like that? In a panic, our boy blurts out that the fiercely Minchai is actually his fighting tutor. Instead of doubting him, Dacium instantly turns into a starry-eyed fangirl. Seeing her get sidetracked, our boy quickly brings the focus back and asks if Doyen has any weak points. After a moment of thought, Dacium actually remembers something crucial. To defeat the terrifying Doyen, our boy and Minchai ask his childhood friend for help. After some thought, she mentions a potential weakness. Hearing this, Minchai immediately sees a glimmer of hope. Wasting no time, she takes our boy to the roof to start a targeted special training. Just then, Minchai's friend Sarah crashes the party. Seeing them gearing up, she volunteers to help out with her own martial arts experience. Before they can object, Sarah strips down to a wrestling singlet. Her wild outfit leaves our boy speechless, but it perfectly matches their training theme. They are focusing on wrestling due to Doyen's hidden flaw. Because he hates physical contact, he completely neglected grappling, making it his ultimate blind spot. To counter Doyen's terrifying striking skills, the group starts brainstorming. The girls break down the two main pillars of MMA for our boy: striking and grappling. Striking is all about throwing punches and kicks, like in boxing or Muay Thai. Grappling, on the other hand, focuses on wrestling, close quarters combat, and submission holds. While pros master both, it turns out Doyen hates grappling because getting sweaty is gross. Minchai totally agrees, admitting that's exactly why she hasn't taught our boy any ground game yet. Hearing this, our boy has a lightbulb moment. Doyen is completely one-dimensional. No matter how hard he punches, if they can drag him to the ground, they actually have a shot at winning. With the strategy set, wrestling boot camp begins immediately. First thing the next morning on the rooftop, Minchai even shows up in a tight wrestling uniform to show she means business. The first fundamental move she teaches is the underhook. But the peanut gallery completely misunderstands and tries to tickle Minchai's armpits, almost getting kicked off the roof by the hot-tempered coach. After yelling at the troublemaker, Minchai uses our boy as a dummy. She slides her arms under his armpits from behind. Feeling her warmth and catching her scent, our guy gets a little flustered. Before he can even enjoy the moment, Minchai goes full coach mode. She locks her grip and effortlessly lifts our boy completely off the ground. Can this crash course in grappling really take down Doyen? To counter Co Doyen's weakness, Minchai tailors a new strategy for our boy. She demonstrates a clean takedown, aiming to finish the fight on the ground with a submission. Short on training partners, Dacium gets drafted on the spot. Under Coach Lee's strict commands, the two rookies clumsily begin their awkward grappling practice on the rooftop. Since wrestling demands immense stamina, Minchai kicks off a hellish conditioning circuit. From desperate belly crawls to intense battle ropes, our boy is pushed beyond his physical limits. The grueling training finally ends at nightfall, leaving everyone completely drained. Thankfully, a hot bowl of midnight ramen serves as the perfect comfort to soothe their exhausted bodies. During the meal, Mincha wonders why Daesum doesn't just talk to her childhood friend directly. The question stirs up old memories, hinting at an untold secret behind their faded friendship. Late at night, the girls are chatting over ramen on the balcony. Hearing how Doyen used to walk her to school, her friend's eyes light up, instantly realizing he definitely had a crush on her. Meanwhile, in a messy room filled with empty bottles and cigarette butts, a group of heavily tattooed delinquents is throwing a loud, chaotic party. Amidst the noise, one guy in black seems completely out of place. He's intensely focused on a receipt, carefully sketching a portrait of a long-haired girl. Nearby, a shirtless tattooed leader smokes and brags about dropping out of school, shamelessly declaring that heroes like to never bow their heads to teachers. Changing the subject, the tattooed leader urges his sketching companion to endure school for the gang's sake. If he passes the test, he can connect them to the powerful Invincible gang. Although they haven't officially joined the Invincibles yet, the leader is already making big promises, pushing his buddy to get in quickly to expand their shady business. In a smoky room, the tattooed gang leader casually smokes while discussing lucrative business with his crew. To recruit the top-tier fighter CO Doyen, he is willing to pay a hefty price. The boss pulls out a luxurious diamond-encrusted watch and generously hands it to Doyen, attempting to fully buy his loyalty with expensive treats. A blonde girl nearby, charmed by Doyen's handsome looks, leans in for an intimate kiss, only to be coldly pushed away by the unimpressed fighter. Disgusted by the toxic environment, Doyen loses his patience and walks out without a single word, leaving the gang members completely dumbfounded. Walking alone through the bustling night streets, Doyen rubs his aching head with a frown. The thick cigarette smoke from earlier leaves him feeling extremely irritable. Just then, a group of clueless street thugs blocks his path. Triggered by a minor shoulder bump, they arrogantly surround him and interrogate his background. Facing these perfect punching bags, the already furious Doyen coldly states his name before delivering a devastating side kick. It seems these thugs are in for a brutal lesson tonight. Enraged by the blue-shirt boy, the tattooed thugs lose their cool. With a furious roar, several muscular gangsters lunge at him from all directions. Facing this fierce siege, CO Doyen doesn't even blink. He effortlessly weaves through the attacks, unleashing a counterpunch with terrifying power that completely distorts his opponent's face. Immediately after, he forcefully slams another thug's head into the ground. With a heavy thud, the once arrogant gangsters instantly lose their combat ability. Seeing his comrades fall, a remaining tattooed man swings wildly in a desperate struggle. But against overwhelming skill, he eats a crushing punch before he can even land a hit. CO Doyen moves like an emotionless fighting machine. He neutralizes every wild attack with sharp striking techniques, delivering a clean flying kick that leaves his opponent completely dazed. Realizing the situation is out of control, a desperate boss pulls out a machete. Just as he thinks he has the upper hand, CO Doyen moves faster than he can react. Trying to threaten me with a knife? You'd have to be faster. Before he finishes, a devastating high kick smashes into the boss's face, wiping out the entire gang. The commotion draws a crowd, but CO Doyen just dusts himself off. Meanwhile, a mysterious silver-haired girl smiles at a photo of our boy Kim Jae-hyuk, setting up the next hunt. Defeat him, and I'll acknowledge you. Facing the seemingly frail student, the fighting genius is finally intrigued. An unprecedented crisis is quietly closing in on our boy. To prepare for the upcoming life-or-death battle, our boy underwent hellish training under Lee Min-shai. From lifting heavy weights to being literally stepped on, he pushed through the pain. After 3 weeks of grueling day and night workouts, the training finally concluded. Taking off his shirt, our boy revealed a newly built, muscular back, shedding his once frail frame. On the morning of the big fight, our guy was startled by Min-shai suddenly barging into his room. Seeing him dawdle, she bluntly reminded him that today was the day he'd face CO Doyen. When asked if he felt confident, our boy was sweating bullets. But remembering the brutal training they went through, he gulped and gave a firm, positive answer to his tutor. Fast forward to the afternoon, the narrow alley was already packed with eager students. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, our boy finally stood face to face with the terrifying genius, CO Doyen. Among the spectators, the anime club friends showed up to anxiously support our guy. Meanwhile, Beck Daesum, hiding in her white hoodie, was too nervous watching the standoff to even reply to her friends. As Seo Doyen's childhood friend, Daesum understood the stakes better than anyone. To prevent Doyen from sinking deeper into the gang's grasp, she secretly prayed for our boy to win. On the other side, the gang members were treating this like a joke. Smoking and laughing, they fully expected Doyen to crush our guy quickly. The stage is set for a brutal showdown. Following Minchi's tactical plan, our boy decides to take the initiative. Pointing at himself, he boldly taunts Seo Doyen, "I heard you're good at striking?" Our boy claims he'll win using only strikes, challenging the genius at his own game. Undefeated and confident, Doyen just smirks at the audacity and accepts. Without warning, Doyen drops his smile and lunges like a beast. The sudden, heavy punch barely grazes our guy's nose, instantly leaving him in a cold sweat. The gang members are surprised he managed to dodge. But Doyen gives him no time to breathe, immediately following up with a ruthless straight right combo. Facing the storm of relentless attacks, our boy can only frantically dodge. While he avoids the worst, just backing away won't give him any chance to counterattack. Just when everyone thought he'd keep running, our boy smoothly ducks and delivers a crisp, resounding slap right to Doyen's face, stunning the crowd. A semi-pro prodigy, publicly slapped in front of everyone. Feeling the sting on his cheek, Doyen's eyes turn dead cold. The real life or death battle has just begun. Facing the terrifying striking genius, our boy doesn't back down. Instead, he spreads his hands and taunts that he can win using nothing but open palm slaps. This was a custom strategy devised by his coach. Since outstriking a genius is impossible, the only way is to provoke him and disrupt his perfect rhythm. Dodging the fierce attacks, our boy seizes an opening to land a crisp, humiliating slap. The repeated disrespect completely shatters the genius's composure. This scene leaves the crowd stunned. Even the gang bosses watching from the sidelines can't believe a semi-pro fighter is getting slapped around like this. Completely enraged, the villain sees red and swings his fists wildly like a cornered beast. His exaggerated attacks create exactly the opening our boy has been waiting for. The moment the heavy punch comes swinging, our boy decisively ducks under it. He closes the distance in a flash, tightly securing a perfect underhook. It turns out the striking battle was just a bluff. The ultimate plan is to exploit his fatal weakness for ground grappling, dragging him down to secure the comeback win. Following Minchi's strategy, once our boy secures a tight grip around the waist, it's time for the ultimate move. He lifts his opponent completely off the ground for a brutal suplex. Rehearsing the technique in his mind, our boy locks his hands tightly around Doyen's waist and unbelievably lifts the fighting genius right off the floor. With a fierce roar, our guy throws Doyen backward with all his might. The massive impact sends the villain crashing hard onto the concrete, letting out a painful groan. That heavy slam even makes the watching thugs gasp in shock. But our boy doesn't give him a second to breathe, immediately pinning Doyen down. Apply the triangle choke from the mount. Make him pass out. Remembering Minchi's crucial advice, our guy grits his teeth and tightens the chokehold to the max. Trapped in the choke, Doyen struggles in extreme pain. Seeing the seemingly set outcome, even the observing gang bosses think this fight is finally over. Just when everyone thinks our boy has secured the win, the gang leader flashes a wicked smile. A perfect lock is unbreakable, unless you're facing an absolute monster. Our boy thought he had the lock secured, but Doyen relies on monstrous raw strength to force an explosive bridge and completely flip him over. Minchi is absolutely stunned. For a striking specialist with zero grappling background to pull off a perfect escape purely on survival instinct is truly terrifying. Resetting the distance, Doyen calmly adjusts his tie and returns to his striking stance. Our boy, still dizzy from the slam, desperately scrambles for a new strategy. Knowing he can't win a striking exchange, our guy fakes a jab to mask his true intent, dropping his weight instantly for another desperate takedown attempt. But this desperate tactic is perfectly read. Doyen delivers a brutal, razor-sharp counter to the face, sending the watching thugs into bursts of cruel laughter. Anchored by his friend's desperate cry, our boy fights through the skull-cracking pain. Staggering but resolute, he raises his fists again. He won't go down that easily. Our boy tries to initiate with a feint and a 1-2, but Doyen reads him like a book, countering instantly with a vicious uppercut. Showing his genius in striking, Doyen unleashes a storm of heavy blows, coldly mocking that our guy can't even get close enough for a tackle. Even while blocking desperately, our boy takes massive damage. Watching him get completely outclassed, Minchi sweats in panic and screams at him to fight back. Hearing Minchi shout, our guy grits his teeth and throws wild punches. However, His reckless swings do no real damage and only expose his vulnerabilities. Realizing striking is pointless, he desperately tries to go for a tackle. But Doyen anticipates it perfectly, smashing a brutal heavy punch right into his head. Giving absolutely no room to breathe, Doyen follows up with a devastating spinning attack, striking our boy down with terrifying force. Seeing our boy drop to one knee in agony, the gang members laugh and celebrate early. Facing such an overwhelming skill gap, is this really the end of the line? Facing the semi-pro genius CO Doyen, our boy is pushed to his absolute limit. Dropping to one knee, he feels like he's hit an insurmountable wall. Despite the excruciating pain, Jae-hyuk grits his teeth and takes his stance again. But he knows his opponent can read every single move he makes. Before he can even think of a plan, Doyen launches another fierce attack. Jae-hyuk tries to block, but falls for a feint and takes a brutal punch straight to the face. A swift uppercut follows, sending our boy flying backward. Watching from above, the gang leaders casually declare that the fight is already over. Giving him zero time to recover, Doyen delivers a crushing downward kick. Bombarded by relentless strikes, our cornered hero wonders if it's really going to end like this. Through the pain, the arrogant words of the bullies echo in his mind. They made beating him the ultimate initiation test, treating him like nothing more than a stepping stone. I refuse to be their toy anymore. Jae-hyuk's eyes widen with fierce determination as he roars out his frustration. He will take whatever punishment it takes to win back his peaceful life. Amidst the ruthless taunts from the gang, our boy is barely hanging on. Do-yoon, on the other hand, advances like a cold-blooded fighting machine. Living up to his reputation as a semi-pro striker, Do-yoon unleashes a relentless barrage. Unable to counter, our boy is sent crashing to the ground by a devastating high kick. Giving no time to breathe, Do-yoon launches a storm of brutal strikes. Battered and dizzy, our boy struggles to even stand on his severely swollen leg. Is this how it ends? Covered in bruises, our boy's consciousness fades. Just as his friends panic, Minchai secretly knows the time for a counterattack has finally arrived. Flashback to their training, Minchai had tailored this ultimate tactic for him. When standard grappling fails, it's time to reveal the secret weapon that will break the opponent. The trigger for this secret card is none other than Dasam. Our guy endured all those lethal blows just to wait for this perfect signal. Jae-hyuk, don't lose to a bully like him. Take him down. Unable to bear it any longer, Dasam screams at the top of her lungs for our boy. Hearing his beloved crush call him a bully, Do-yoon is struck like lightning. His bloodthirsty aura vanishes instantly as he freezes and turns around in pure disbelief. That's right, this was Minchai's trump card all along. She figured out that Do-yoon's biggest weakness is his deep crush on Dasam. Now, the ultimate chance to strike back has come. Facing overwhelming odds, our boy remembers Minchai's lesson. In real fights, a corner will intentionally provoke the opponent to mess with their head. It's the classic distraction strategy. His anime club friends immediately catch on, loudly taunting from the sidelines. Hearing them mention his precious childhood friend, the normally calm Doyen instantly loses his cool, his body trembling. Seeing the strategy work, our boy pushes his guilt aside and adds fuel to the fire, mocking him mercilessly. Pushed over the edge, Doyen's sanity completely snaps as tears stream down his face. Shut up. With a desperate roar, Doyen lunges forward like a cornered beast. Tears mixing with sweat, he throws a devastatingly wild punch. The punch smashes into the wall with a terrifying impact. Our boy barely dodges, breaking out in a cold sweat. The provocation worked a little too well. Every swing now carries murderous intent. But danger brings opportunity. Our boy notices that in his emotional state, Doyen has abandoned his flawless form, making his swings wider. Just like Minchai taught him, losing control always creates an opening. Staring down the relentless assault, our guy's mind races. Doyen's high guard might protect his head, but it means one crucial thing: his torso is completely exposed. It's time to turn the tables. Recalling Minchai's tactical warning, our boy watches as CO Doyen unleashes a deadly left kick aimed right at his liver. Taking the heavy blow head-on, our boy's face twists in agonizing pain. Seeing him vulnerable, Doyen steps in to finish the fight once and for all. But this was exactly our boy's plan. Enduring the immense pain, he seizes the moment to lock Doyen in a rear-naked choke, a striker's absolute worst nightmare. As his vision fades from the chokehold, Doyen's mind drifts back to middle school, a dark time when his childhood friend Baek Daesum was brutally bullied. The red-hooded delinquent endlessly tormented Daesum, pulling her hair and shoving her around, while everyone else was too terrified to intervene. Back then, Doyen was just a timid, chubby boy. Hearing her muffled sobs, he desperately tried to focus on his book to escape the harsh reality. Covered in stains from his own bullying, Doyen finally reached his breaking point. Unable to stand it anymore, he shot a piercing glare at the tormentors. But his brief moment of defiance only earned him a brutal kick from the bully. The terrifying nightmare for both of them had only just begun. It turns out the terrifying fighter Seo Doyen had a dark past. Back in middle school, his chubby physique made him an easy target for bullies, suffering endless humiliation while classmates watched in silence. Just when he thought he had to endure another brutal beating, an unexpected voice echoed in the room. The seemingly fragile Baek Daesum gathered her courage and loudly ordered the bullies to stop. But the arrogant bullies wouldn't listen. After a mocking apology, they ruthlessly struck Daesum down, laughing at her interference, while Doyen could only watch helplessly from the floor. Left with no choice, Daesum cried bitterly at her desk. Sitting beside her, Doyen pretended to focus on his book, but his heart was overwhelmed with deep guilt. Unable to ignore her endless tears, the clumsy Doyen finally made a move. He grabbed some crumpled tissues from the wall and awkwardly handed them to the sobbing girl. Wiping her tears, Daesum introduced herself. Touched by the incredible courage of this small girl who stood up for him, Doyen blushed and softly replied with his own name. Hearing his name, Daesum broke into a warm, bright smile and asked to be friends. From then on, these two bullied outcasts became each other's most important sanctuary in a cruel world. Looking back, our boy was once a bullied, overweight kid. Whenever he was in trouble, his friend Baek Daesum would bravely step in to protect him, even if it meant getting hurt herself, leaving him drowning in guilt. To complete a school assignment, Daesum eagerly invited our boy over to her house to watch a movie. Seeing her so energetic helped lift the heavy clouds that usually hung over his head. Sitting side by side, they watched a silly cartoon. Daesum laughed so hard she started mimicking the characters, and while our boy kept his cool, he secretly cherished this rare moment of warmth. Watching anime at Daesum's place soon became a daily habit. With his father always working, his own home was lonely, but spending time with her made even the wildest stories feel special. The plots didn't really matter. For our boy, the real joy was simply being with her. Their bond grew stronger every day, until they became the most important people in each other's lives. They started walking to school together, studying on the floor, and even practicing their drawing. Seeing Daesum scribble happily next to his sketches gave him a sense of peace he'd never known. Happy times fly by, and soon they were both in high school uniforms. The once weak boy stayed by her side, unaware that a storm was quietly brewing in their future. Memories flood back. The once powerless Seo Doyen was just a victim, backed into a corner by bullies, and forced to endure harsh slaps and relentless humiliation. Surrounded by the mocking laughter of his tormentors, he held back humiliating tears. For him back then, taking a beating was just a harsh daily reality he had to accept. But what truly broke him wasn't his own pain. Watching his precious childhood friend, Baek Daesum, forced to her knees and recorded by thugs shattered his world completely. Hiding in the shadows, he watched her suffer in pure agony. He screamed internally to step out and stop them, but his legs remained frozen by years of ingrained fear. His cowardly instincts forced him to shut his eyes, as tears of regret streamed down. The crushing despair of failing to protect her made him despise his own weakness entirely. That day of ultimate humiliation forced a life-changing decision. Standing alone in front of the MMA gym, he swore to completely erase his fragile and useless past self. He threw himself into hellish training, fueling every heavy punch with hatred for his old self. But where would this extreme violence, born to protect, ultimately lead him? To escape a life of bullying, Seo Doyen threw himself into hellish training. Day after day of extreme workouts pushed his body and willpower to their absolute limits. His brutal efforts paid off the moment he stepped into the octagon. Like a ruthless striking machine, he unleashed a storm of combos that completely overwhelmed his opponent. In just 15 seconds, the opponent was knocked out cold, leaving his coach totally speechless. From then on, this guy went on an unstoppable undefeated streak. However, his coach was deeply concerned. He warned Doyen that relying solely on striking and ignoring ground grappling would eventually become his fatal weakness in MMA. But the stubborn boy believed his speed was enough to keep anyone away. Sighing, the coach sternly warned him that his fists were now deadly weapons and shouldn't be used recklessly. After a long day of training, Doyen walked out to find his childhood friend waiting for him. All his desperate struggle for strength was ultimately just to protect her. In a flashback, Seo Doin is still training hard to get stronger. Walking home at night, his childhood friend Daesum complains that he never has time to watch anime with her anymore. Seeing her disappointed, Doin blushes and promises to make it up to her. Thrilled, Daesum excitedly tells him to come find her at her classroom after school tomorrow. The next day, Doin arrives at her classroom as promised. But the moment he opens the door, he is struck by a horrifying sight. Daesum is being surrounded and mercilessly bullied by a group of delinquents. The lead bully brutally shoves Daesum around, while another girl records the humiliation on her phone. Seeing his helpless friend, Doin freezes in a mix of pure shock and anger. Hearing the door, the bullies pause. The brown-haired leader turns around, glaring at Doin and aggressively asking what the hell he's doing here. Seeing the bully deliberately stepping on Daesum's clothes, Doin clenches his fists and demands he move his foot. However, the delinquent treats his warning like a complete joke. Instead of backing off, the bully relentlessly mocks Doin. He starts asking if they are dating and throws out disgusting, crude jokes to provoke him further. Hearing the vile words and seeing Daesum's terrified eyes, Doin completely snaps. Without a second thought, he throws a devastating right hook straight into the bully's face. The sudden punch leaves everyone in shock. But the bully quickly recovers, roaring in fury, as he delivers a brutal counterpunch that sends the inexperienced Doin reeling. Can he really protect the girl he cares about? Facing the arrogant bully who grabbed his collar, our boy didn't back down. He countered with a devastating right cross, knocking the guy out cold. Seeing their buddy unconscious, the panicking goons called for backup. The brother, known as the top middle school fighter, charged in with his gang, furious and ready for revenge. But what happened next completely defied everyone's expectations. Within minutes, the once cocky thugs were laid out all over the floor, leaving our guy standing alone. Trembling at his bloody fists and fierce gaze, the bystanders didn't even dare to breathe. From that day on, our boy crushed his cowardly past and became an undisputed legend.